Good evening, my fellow Swedish patriots. I'd like to tell you about a nation that I've always been a huge fan of. As you guys know, I've always loved Sweden. I have always been such a fan of Sweden, their wonderful culture, their incredible music taste, and Melodifestivalen, which is truly the greatest music competition in the world. And I just want to say that I'm so grateful to the nation of Sweden, a country I have never said anything bad about. Let me tell you this. I love your timely public transport. I love your sense of public space and your civic duty.
Fire.
Thank you very much for the Prime sub and others. We'll go through that in a minute. I love your proud culture, and more than anything else, I love your neighborly relations. And let's not forget Max Berger. Now, there is somebody who is going to be joining me. Whether they will love Sweden as much as I do remains to be seen. But it is a good friend of mine who is going to be joining this evening. Unfortunately, Jay is not able to make it this week. He sends his love. But we have a very, very special guest in place, which is the one and only ESC Goddam. Goddam, would you please introduce yourself and tell everyone how much you love Sweden and their excellent country and proud and dignified history?
Hello. I wouldn't say that about Sweden.
Yes.
To be fair, maybe you're not me. That's not my reality. But I'm glad. I'm satisfied. I'm feeling quite happy with the outcome.
And so, Goddam, would you like to, for those who don't know you, would you like to talk a little bit about what you do, about your channel and everything else?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Goddam. I also do content on here. I'm Gabe's fellow colleague and hater part-time. And I do lovely content on YouTube. I wouldn't call it lovely, some of you may will. But I do analysis, I drag everyone. I am very unfunny and very stupid. So if you want to join me on that adventure, go subscribe. And
chat has already welcomed you in the way that only they know how to do, which is by saying the magic words, intelligent, Gotham Project. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. It is great to be back again. The whole week, every week, I look forward to streaming. And it is always really, really exciting. Firstly, thanks to everyone who's subscribed during the introduction. That was Channel 3468, Alejandro Garnacho, Addy15 Na, I'm Just Luna, Panicking Vocalist, I'm Stephen, Ashka Marine, Tim Schnitzel, and thank you, Levi Mayfly, for the tip as well. Thank you so, so much. Don't forget, on Twitch, you can financially support this channel for free if you have Amazon Prime by using your Prime sub on this channel. Secondly, if you haven't already, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe. There's another subscription just come in, and make sure to follow on Twitch too. All the details are in the description. Goddam's channel is in the description as well. Make sure you go and subscribe to him as well, because he's making really great stuff. Ollie says, and donates €5 and says, is this Benjamin Bratz's evil twin? Yes, Goddam, I meant to ask you, how was Chefsache ESC? You know, I thought you did a really great job. You should be really proud. I think, you know, the song maybe left something to be desired, but, you know, you did your best. How was that experience for you?
It was tragic. At least somebody liked it. So thank you, because I don't think anyone else did.
For those of you who aren't aware, I'm going to put it on screen now. Thank you so much, B, for the 100 bits. As you can clearly see, this man is Gotham. They are one and the same. And I have to say, we're really proud of Gotham for taking that first jump and being a Eurovision content creator who not only writes a song, but participates in a national final. Unfortunately, Stefan Raab didn't quite like him enough. Now, we're going to talk tonight about the internal selections that took place this week. I almost said the intelligent selections. That's how much the brain rot from all of you has gotten to me. We're going to be talking about the internal selections that have taken place this week. We're going to be talking about Sweden. We're going to be talking about Portugal. We're going to be talking about San Marino. Not in that order, though. It's going to be Sweden, internals, San Marino, more internals, Portugal. And obviously, we are going to start with the big news, the big news, which is that Måns Zelmerlöw is not going to Eurovision. He lost out last night in Melodifestivalen to Kai. We're going to go through all of the songs in a minute. I'm going to take this off now because, seriously, this is terrible quality material. This cost me £4 on Amazon. Probably got some, like, the fibers in there, probably going to give me some kinds of diseases. Got him. What did you think of this result? And what did you think of the show at large?
So here's the thing. I'm a big Melodifestivalen hater. To me, it's boring, and it has been boring for the past couple of years. To be fair, in terms of the result, I didn't expect this whatsoever. I genuinely thought that Mars had it in the bag. Even though like we all know that there was hype around like Kai, I still thought till the last second that he is gonna win. And to be fair, I'm very glad that he didn't. I'm kind of disappointed with Hush Hush being so low, but I kind of expected that. To be fair.
I share a lot of your feelings, I think, in terms of, and you guys can hear lots of sounds right now. There's all kinds of things going on. I will thank everybody in a minute. I'm just going to do it in like little blocks. I agree with you that this was not the result I expected. Right until the last minute, I thought that Måns was going to win, despite the fact I very much wanted Kai to win. And we'll talk about, because there's already people asking about it, we're going to talk about what happened afterwards and the things that he said in his interviews when we talk about his song in a minute. We'll go through the songs, we'll pick that up as we go. There's someone else who's going to be in for that as well. But no, I didn't think that Måns would lose out. The thing that really shocked me was how close the jury was. I was working on the assumption that Måns would win it by 10, 15, 20 points, and then Kai would need a similar swing back on the basis that I thought it would be very difficult to get 20 points back. I assumed that it wouldn't be possible. There's so many sounds going on right now. So I'm going to quickly run through some of the really kind donations nice people have been putting in. B says, you're forgetting the biggest victory. Dolly Style got top 5. We're going to talk about that. And also, we're going to talk about the fact the performance didn't look like it should, but they were not allowed to perform again. Grey Gravity says, Intelligent Barabada Bastu project, and resubscribes with the Prime sub. Thank you so much. Adam P. 010, you may be familiar with this person, says, boo the twink. Any response, got him?
No. I don't give platform to people like that.
Yeah, exactly. No, me neither. He's clearly an evil man. And Lassa says, shout out to Jules Sparkles, and gives a super chat. Thank you all so much. Right. We're going back to the place we all know. That is the Misha Eurovision channel. You can see everything, right?
Yep.
Perfect. So it looks like it's going to be time for us to talk about the first song, which was Mr. John Lundvik. Let's have a little listen. So, got him. We're going to talk about his interviews in a minute, because this man is going to win our first Bad Loser Award of the evening. Or as I like to call it, the Natalia Barbu Commemoration Award. What did you think of John Lundvik and Voice of the Silent?
I feel like this was weaker than his 2019 entry. I don't like that kind of music. To me, it's all very bland. And he tried like salvaging it with like the staging. I don't think the song could have been salvaged. It's just boring. It's your average like mid-fest entry. So not impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I have similar thoughts. I think that the thing is with his 2019 entry, I actually quite liked it. I thought it was, while it was quite conventional, right? There was a certain amount of joy and a certain amount of, like it made a lot more sense as a package. And right from when you first saw it at Melodifestivalen, you thought, yeah, this could go on stage at Eurovision. Obviously, having the Mamas there really added to it. I think John Lundvik and the Mamas together was a much better combination. We've now seen with a couple of attempts that he's not quite able to sustain it alone. But what really annoyed me, and we're going to be going to Aftonbladet a few times this evening, was this. So, after the competition, John Lundvik speaks to the press and says some things which I found very interesting. Now, for whatever reason, John Lundvik thought that this song would be in with a chance of winning, at the very least, the jury vote, despite the fact that precisely 0 other people. I mean, God, if you come across one person who thought this had a chance of winning, even one.
No.
Exactly.
0.
Like, he is the only person who thought he was in with a chance here. He ended up in 6th place. And what he said was, the competitive climate has now changed completely. Mello has become more like Eurovision with more crazy entries. He also said in a different interview that it had become TikTokified. Then we have a great example of Mons, who has been on every single wallpaper in Europe with an incredible number, a good song, but has no chance with this trend that is happening right now. I guess that's probably a mistranslation as I congratulate them for this win, but it's not a league that I play in. There we go. There's that TikTok one. He thought he would place higher. He thought he'd do well with the jury. And he says he doesn't want to be in Melodifestivalen again. I mean, where to start with this? I mean, and thank you very much for the €7. A girl in a basement. That's for the sauna. Take Jay with you. We will go. Next time we're back in Finland or Estonia, we will 100% be off to the sauna. They're not so good here. I think that, I mean, Godham, you probably agree with me that this is complete nonsense, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I appreciate that he's, like, trying to fake it till he makes it, but, like, come on. You have to be realistic sometimes and just, like, consider that this was not your best work, and you losing shouldn't surprise you, and, yeah.
Yeah, I think as well, and this is a general thing, and I'm going to reflect more on this after Mons later. I think that the curtain has been lifted away slightly, and it's shown a side to the Swedish music industry, which is really, really interesting, and I think doesn't necessarily reflect well on them. But in any case, we'll come to that. On to song 2.
Fire.
And I'm very excited to talk about this one. Thank you, Baby Bat, for the tier 1. And thank you, Jade James, for the Prime just before as well. Subscription. This has been a crazy start, by the way, guys. I'm so grateful. You've all been putting in loads of support. I really, really appreciate it. Now, I'm just gonna play the song.
Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up. Come on, everybody, what you waiting for?
Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up. I love it, Godham. I love it. I love everything about it. I think it's wonderful.
I hate this.
I think it's wonderful. It's the best thing
hate
that's ever
this.
happened. No, you're wrong. You're so wrong. I knew this would happen.
No.
Why do you hate joy?
I hate this kind of joy.
No.
I like Barabas, who was my winner as well, but this is annoying. This is just straight up obnoxious. I don't like this.
You're wrong. And everyone in
hate
chat
it.
knows you're wrong. Everyone in chat knows you're wrong. It's all of us against you on this one, Godham.
They hated Jesus for speaking the truth. So
Okay, well, here's the thing, right? What I will give you is, I don't know anyone who feels ambivalent about this song. People are either like, this is hilarious and really fun, or they completely hate it. And there are some people in chat, I see Grybo in chat, who agrees with you. Neno agrees with you. Eva in the YouTube chat agrees with you. So there are some. Thanks, Leo, for the 100 bits. That's really appreciated. Thank you so much. So some people do agree with you. But I think sometimes I wouldn't have wanted this to win. I wouldn't have wanted it to be a Eurovision entry, right? But I think you need fun stuff like this, right? You need this kind of thing. It does enrich the competition. And like John Lundvik can say, oh, the TikTokification of Melfest or whatever. This came like 5th, you know?
which was higher than I thought it would get, to be fair.
You know, to be honest, I actually thought it would get about the same, but it was the blend of points that I didn't understand. So if you look at this, you'd listen to this song, right? You wouldn't think it was jury-led in its result. It got 48 from the jury and 27 from the public. I basically thought those figures would be flipped. I thought it would do really well with the public, especially with the younger age groups, and not so well with the juries. I mean, if you sort by jury vote, it came 4th. But yeah, fell short with the public, maybe because people who were looking for their fun went for Bara Bara Bastu. I did want to say with this one, again, we're back to Aftonbladet for this. There's someone in chat who has a profile with my face on it saying, hello, twin. That's really weird. So I am going to ban you. Yeah. Anyway, bye, twin. So there was meant to be pyro in Dolly Style's performance that unfortunately did not happen. So you can see this is from a rehearsal. We didn't see this on the live show. These pyros didn't work. Now, they did ask to perform again, but they were denied. I think that's probably fair enough because it was just pyro. But obviously they were very upset. I still maintain it was really fun and it was really great. And unlike Gotham, I don't hate fun. So I thought it was excellent. We'll come back to you in a minute, Mons. Any final thoughts on Dolly Style? What would you have wanted them to do? You're muted, Gotham. I can't hear you. Dolly Style have come for him. Dolly Style have found him and they've successfully stopped him from speaking. I can still see you, Gotham. We just can't hear you. So let this be a lesson to all of you. Do not come for Dolly Style. Do not come for Dolly Style or they will come for you. Gotham, why don't you try... I've just taken you off screen for a minute. Quickly try leaving and rejoining. See if that fixes it. In the meantime, we're going to look at the next song and Gotham will be right back with us. The next one is Gratula with his suspended piano in the air. Right. So, this, I just want to try and see if I was right about the things this reminded me of. Did this remind, and like, what were the things this reminded you of? Because I was getting the kind of, the Elton John, the Queen kind of thing going on. And I wanted to see, again, I'm seeing Elton John, Live Aid, Queen, Bowie, so I thought they channeled that well. I'm just checking in on Gotham. I thought they channeled that well. I thought they channeled that well. Did that make it a little derivative? Yes. Whoever said that this guy reminded him of Isaiah Firebrace, that is mean. Everett says intelligent British project. Yeah, I actually thought it was, one thing I've been critical of in the past is, number one, people all using the same songwriters, and number two, stuff that's too derivative. It's more like a pastiche of a genre rather than something more, authentic. I actually quite like this. I thought it drew very heavily on those influences, but was still a strong performance in its own right. And as Dolph and Dane and others have said, this was the only performance in this final, or indeed any Melfest final since 2016, with 0 prior songwriting connections. 0. That is really, really good. We need more of that. In fact, the fact that there's only been one in a decade is, pretty terrible. And it's a sign of what's wrong with Melfest. I'm sure me and Gotham will talk about that in a little bit. Gotham is just having a couple of technical issues. He will be back with us shortly. When he is back, he should just be able to turn on. And Gotham, if you speak now.
Got them alive.
I can hear something. Got him. If everyone yells "got him," maybe he'll speak. So everyone just got him, all caps, lots of exclamation marks in chat. Maybe that'll. There we go. Come on, more. Yeah, that's it. See the chat going. All right. I can hear something. Can you hear that? I'm just going to mute that for a moment so that you can't hear it. Hello, got him. He's back.
I'm back.
There he is. Did you just have a bit? Did your internet give up on you, or did Dolly Style
Dolly
come
Style
for you?
came. Yeah, I think it was them. I
knew
heard a
it.
knocking. I
I
heard
knew
a
it.
horse outside.
You hear a distant neigh, and then a bunch of women with funny coloured hair kicked your door down.
Yeah.
So, got him. The chat is still screaming at you. I think they're quite glad you're back. He's back, guys. You can calm down now. Now, before I move on, I was just talking about Greshula while you were getting sorted out. What did you think of this song? I was quite complimentary because I thought it was quite a authentic, like, tribute influence from like, your Elton Johns, your sort of British rock musicians of the 80s and 90s. What did you think?
I liked it, surprisingly. It wasn't my winner, wasn't my favorite of the night, but I'm glad that it was there. Again, it was nice for the variety of the contest, and I appreciated it. But again, wasn't too crazy about it.
I think something that we've been regularly talking about, one other thing that I wanted to mention to you is that, so you may not have realized this was the first song with no prior songwriting credits on it since in the final of Melfest in almost a decade. So the people who wrote this song did not have a single other song in the final of Melfest before, which is a nice and refreshing change. It was also unique in this show. Moving to the next one. This one hurts, but let's talk about it. So, I'm going to start this with a question to you. Was it just me? Or did it seem like she was not off in a way like she was having a bad night in the final, but she was so far off her best, something must have been wrong?
Yeah. It was kind of weird when I watched it because we have seen her before in Melfest, and she's usually like very skilled performer, but something did feel off. Like something wasn't right.
So the thing that really struck me, and you guys can go back yourselves and look at the final performance compared with the semi-final performance. She was backing out the big notes. She was super breathy. She was also very strained. So if you look at her head and her neck, there's so much tension. It's like she's having to really force out every single note. Now, someone's pointing out she was seen talking to someone before the performance and she looked stressed. It is possible that she had, whether it was an illness or some kind of panic attack or whatever else, it felt like something had happened. And because of that, I'm going to talk about the song. I'm not going to criticize the vocals. Like sometimes you can listen to a performance and go, wow, that vocal was bad. Sometimes you listen to a performance and think, this person had something go wrong. Like actually seriously wrong. And I think that's clearly what happened here. Thank you, Hoodie Teeth, for the Prime sub, by the way. And thank you, Patrick Hota, for the YouTube membership. That's another way to subscribe. And if you become a YouTube member, you get videos a day early as well. So you can see my more coherent thoughts on this show on Thursday instead of Friday. Now, as for the song, I got to say, to be honest, I found it was a bit disjointed. I really like this build-up coming up to the first chorus. And you build up this, like, you know, this sort of, you got that pre-chorus bit where it's kind of like, duh, 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 and they're building all of these layers up, right? And it really felt like it was about to go somewhere. Then you get to the chorus and it felt like we jolted back into something really quite different that, in my opinion, took something away from the song. What did you think? And do you think it was disjointed, firstly?
Yeah, kind of. Again, I don't think this. First of all, we already talked about the performance, but it wasn't my favorite Clara song, which we have seen from her in Melfest. I don't know, it just didn't work for me. And maybe it was the fact that it was a little bit disjointed at the end of the day, but it just didn't click for me for some reason, which is shocking because otherwise I love her attempts in Midfest. But
I love your commitment to calling it Midfest every single time, by the way. Like every single time,
let's call it what it is.
It's what you guys will learn about Godham, and one thing that you guys should expect if you subscribe to him, he is a professional hater. Like professional. No one does it like him. Carlos and Ollie, I see those memberships as well. Thank you so much. Let's go to the next song. I will quickly say one last thing, and I think you'll probably agree with me on this, regardless of whether you like this song and the song I'm going to compare it to or not. For me, it felt like we're past her like opportunity window now, because it felt like Run to the Hills would have been the song that won Melfest. And now that's passed, it doesn't feel like we've reached that level again. So, next we have Scarlet. Another one that I thought the vocal wasn't perfect. I liked the performance. Vocal wasn't perfect, but we'll get to that in a moment. So, right, you can't see anything in that screenshot. Got him. Your opinion on Sweet and Psycho?
I don't like their music. It's not for me at all. I enjoy the performance. I think they put a lot into the performance, but for me, this is just so not my music. For some reason, I didn't like their previous attempt either. It's just, I don't think it's for me, and I don't get it. But I'm sure like there is an audience for this kind of song. It just isn't me. But yeah, the vocal wasn't strong. I liked like the visuals, but the song did absolutely nothing for me.
I think I do like this kind of music, and as a result, I did enjoy this performance. At the same time, I've been listening to this today, and it was actually only today that my brain sort of started telling me this. But if anyone remembers Seki and Soy from Benidorm Fest last year, this feels like a similar thing where it's like Swedish pop songwriter does heavier music. You can put Smash Into Pieces in that genre as well. Obviously, this is a slightly darker version of that. And as a result, I actually did quite like it. I thought it was a bit different. It distinguished itself, at least. You know, regardless of whether you like it or not, it distinguished itself from the rest of the show, right? It really, really stood out. Thank you, Trevina, for that membership as well. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's good to see that I'm not the only one who thinks this, because it's been going around my head all day. Yeah. But I will say, it felt a little bit like maybe, I don't think it took away much from the performance, but the vocal this time around on the final night was a little bit weaker than the semi. Maybe there was some nerves or something coming into it. It was their first performance in a Melfest final. It's grown on me, Tiki. It has grown on me. And someone's saying Seki and Soy was also a Swedish song. That's the point I was making. Sorry, I should have made that clear. The reason I mentioned Seki and Soy specifically is that it was written by Thomas Gison. This was written by Jimmy Joker Turnfelt, and he was actually shouted out in the lyrics as well. I'm going to show you guys that for a second. Where is it? Sweet and Psycho, 7th. Basically the same score from the jury and the public. If we scroll down, Jimmy Joker Turnfelt references himself in the lyrics. Oh, you can't see it now. There we go. Get Joker, Firestarter. Like, come on, man. Like, this is just nah. You don't do that, in my opinion. By the way, Gotham, you do have somebody, Grottiged in chat has now sent about 10 messages saying how much they hate Dolly Style, and they're vigorously defending you.
Thank you.
So
I don't hate them. I just don't like it.
Well,
I like the concept of them, not the execution.
Fair enough. Right. We are now going to prepare to award our second Natalia Barbu Memorial Sore Loser Award of the evening. Are you ready, Godden?
No.
So, Mr. Eric, that's a funny still image. Should we leave it on that? No, we won't be mean. Let's find a better one. That'll do. Look, he's passionately singing. So, Mr. Eric, this will be on Aftonbladet somewhere as well. Had a few choice words, which I'm going to find for you. We'll come back to this in a minute. Did something go wrong, Eric Segerstedt? Let's have a look. So, okay, that's just a stub during the show. Basically, Eric was another one who, after the show, was very disappointed, wanted a better result, and expressed itself. I wish I could find the article now. I should have got it. I had the others. I forgot to get the Eric one up. Luckily, though, Stephen in chat says, Eric Segerstedt is hot, so he's forgiven. It's like having Jay here. No, kidding, of course. So, the thing with this song was that it was quite generic. Got him. And I imagine that would be your criticism too. What do you think?
Yeah. It's just there is no substance to it. Like it feels dated. It's super generic. It doesn't have any identity to it whatsoever. It's so playing it safe that it's even like too safe for Midfest, which is an oxymoron in itself. But it's just forgettable. I don't know why this man was having a bitch fest about this, but this was nothing to me. I cannot say one positive thing about this. Like super forgettable. At least the thing is, if you want to be remembered and people to vote for you, and you're not gonna write a good song, do it like Dolly Style. Have something in the song that's actually memorable. Here you have nothing memorable. People will just not remember this.
Yeah, I do think it does struggle for it's kind of nice sound, right? Like it doesn't sound bad. There's nothing wrong with it. And the live performance, I thought his voice was nice. I found it quite. I actually quite found it. I found it a little bit sort of. It had that kind of Coldplay-ish thing where it's sort of it's nice and it makes you feel good. But it's not a showstopper, right? I really wouldn't have wanted this at Eurovision. I don't think it would have done very well.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, there have been a few people. Well, I'm going to quickly address this now because there've been a few people who've been asking it. And mods, you don't need to remove the messages. I know you're doing your best. Yeah, and that's a good point for ESC Bangladesh. Just quickly before I talk about this, Eric said that it was weird that Norwegians won and Finns won. And he was like, "What's next? Danes winning?" Now, firstly, that's very small-minded, especially given that this is the first entry in Swedish in almost 30 years. Secondly, don't be ridiculous. The Danes are useless when it comes to Eurovision. They're not winning Melodifestivalen anytime soon. Now, people are talking about, obviously, the Israeli song premieres tonight. I'm going to say what I always say, which is refer to my video from last year on the subject. I'm not covering Israel. That's the choice that I've made. If you want my analysis of the position of Israel in the Eurovision Song Contest, there's a video on my channel called Israel and Azerbaijan Are Exploiting Eurovision. It was my position last year. It's my position this year. So we don't need to talk about it. And the Danes in chat, it's really funny. Whenever you hate on the Danes in the context of Eurovision, they just they don't even defend themselves. They just kind of go, yeah, you're right. So at least they're self-aware. Although that said, I quite like the song this year. We'll talk about that later. So next, Kamikaze Live.
My wings can't take me anywhere. It's a kamikaze.
So this felt like a Eurovision national final song that comes ninth in every national final. Thank you, Grybo, for the cheer and saying, I love this song. I've got bad news for you. I think you might be the only one. It's just, it was a bit of a nothing burger for me, and I don't think it was performed very well. What do you think, Godham?
You know what I'm thinking right now? I feel like I would find such a song in the final of UVPSM. That's what it sounds like to me.
Kind of know
it
what you mean,
wouldn't win.
actually, yeah. It wouldn't win, no.
No. It's a nothing burger, like you said. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there is not even like something to criticize because there is like no substance to the actual entry. There is not even like a proper performance. Like, what was the point of giving this a spot in the final?
I mean,
don't
this
get
is
it.
my general criticism of Melfest, which is that it's in general quite a shallow. Like you have a lot of songs where you can't really dig into it, and it just makes it feel unsatisfying in some way in a lot of cases. Now, of course, that's not universally true, and there are some songs in this show that I really liked, or that I thought were really well executed. We've already had a couple of them. Someone asked Godham before what your taste is. They would like to know, to sort of get to know you, what kind of music is to your taste. I'm sure we'll come across plenty of it this evening, but I believe the next song is one that you quite enjoyed, if I'm not mistaken, which was Hush Hush. So I'm going to play a little bit.
Chicka, 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 via, 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 hush, hush. 'Cause I need you here now.
Now, as you like this one, I'm going to let you take the lead. Go ahead. What do you think?
Okay, so I love this. It's very it's Balkan. It's not supposed to be Balkan, but this is something you would hear in the Balkans in terms of like turbo folk. It's really different, and that's what I appreciate about it. Like, I didn't think we would get such a song in Melfest, and even though I'm sad that it got what 10th in the final, I would even like expect this to make it to the final of Midfest. Like I wouldn't. I like it. I feel like the performance was quite well executed. She has charisma about her, and it's a bop. And here's to everyone in the chat that said that I don't like fun. This is the kind of fun I like.
So I will admit, I quite enjoyed the live performance. Just on the, but not because of her voice, and I'll explain in a second. So with Hush Hush, it feels like a bit of a throwback to the kind of early 2010s sound we were getting from Turkey and Azerbaijan. Like at that time, we were getting a lot in this kind of style. Actually, ESC Tom made a really good comparison, is that this sounds like an Eisel track. Eisel as in always on my mind, Eisel, not Eisel as in cross my heart, Eisel. Or do I mean Arash, actually? I might mean Arash. Yeah, Arash, I think, sorry. With this, I think it's genius songwriting because it's a song that basically performs itself. All she had to do was hit the dance steps and occasionally sing into the microphone. And it didn't matter that if you isolated a vocal feed, it wouldn't be very strong. The song kind of performs itself. So it's a clever way to stage mirror. I think the staging was right. It fed into the sort of sound. There's a sort of Orientalism that goes on in Eurovision around these kinds of things, which is in mixed taste. Like sometimes it's in good taste, sometimes it isn't. It's obviously much better when it comes from a performer who's of that heritage, of which Megara is. I'm losing myself slightly on my point here. Yes, so, but what that means is that, you know, when you build the performance in this way, it fits, right? It sells it. It matches with what people are feeling when they listen. It matches with the kind of imagery that people see in their head. And as a result, I thought it was pretty nicely done. Yeah, so I'm glad this made the final. Again, because it is a little different to what you might usually get in Melfest. Right, now the man of the hour... And this year's Gold Star sore loser, it is Mons Zemerl&ouml. So, Mons made a big mistake, a big PR mistake in the last 48 hours. Everyone in the chat is just saying Monsusi and Vaginal Walls and Intelligent Vaginal Walls project. Again, the same thing happens every week, guys. The Twitch chat is like the YouTube chat is just people being like, oh, I like this. I don't like this. That's an interesting point. Oh, no, I think you're wrong there. And then the Twitch chat is like Monsusi, Personas, Intelligent Music Project, Loco Boombox, all of this stuff. All the time. I think I missed a membership, by the way. Arcus, thank you so much. If I didn't shout you out, I am sorry. Gotham, I have a lot to say about this. A lot. And about what it says about the competition as well, about his comments and so on. But first, I want you to tell me, because I think actually we have to sort of look at this in two different ways, which is the song itself and the stage show. Because for me, I found the song underwhelming, the stage show impressive and elevating, but still with a generic underlying package. What did you think?
Yeah, it's again my comments about like the two songs that I really didn't care about. I would extend them to this one as well. It's so generic. That's what it's okay. It's nicely produced. We all can agree that the production value is okay, but there is no soul to this. There is nothing that makes it special. It feels like he got that song ready for him. He didn't put any soul into it. It felt soulless, the whole package. And I would say the same about the staging as well. Like, it sounds like something we would hear on the radio in 2016. It's dated. It's nothing. It's a nothing burger, like you say, and yeah, and the lyrics especially, they are literally, if you ask ChatGPT to write you elevating lyrics around the topic of revolution, this would come up. There is no value to the lyrics. There is no soul in it. Um, wouldn't play this ever.
So
Don't like it.
I think his live, people are pointing this out, his live performance does elevate it. And I thought that this might, I thought it was going to win, right? And I imagine, like everyone did, and I imagine you thought it was going to win as well.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a box ticking exercise. It's not, I don't mind listening to it. I enjoyed the performance. It's nicely done. Everyone knows that Måns Zelmerlöw is a very charismatic stage performer, knows how to sell a song, right? There's a reason he won Eurovision. But I think people forget because people don't really... I think Heroes is one of the less respected winners of the 2010s. And I think to an extent, it's not... there are some things that I kind of have a problem with that. And that's why I put it in a quite high tier in my Eurovision winners ranked video. Because staging-wise, it did something that we're very used to now, but that was very innovative at the time. So it did... it wasn't a sea change for the contest, but it was this little... It made this little sort of tick along onto something that opened up a new set of things, right? And meant we saw a lot of variations, a lot of developments onto that theme. And I think Heroes, in my opinion, was I can get behind it as a winner. Fair enough when all things are considered. Unfortunately, happy birthday, Pontus. I see you. Unfortunately, this song, because it's so similar to Heroes, it would have pushed boundaries 10 years ago. But that's 10 years ago. We aren't pushing any boundaries here now. And we're not doing anything new. We're seeing something that we could have quite capably seen some years ago. It felt, like I said, like a box ticking exercise. And that's when we come on to this. Now, Måns, in my opinion, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant now. Got him. So sorry in advance. Happy birthday in advance, Calypson. Might not be your birthday now, but it will be one day. Måns, in the run-up, in my opinion, in the run-up to the show, was saying all the right things in the press. He was taking the pressure off by saying, I think Kai's going to win, and I'd be really happy for Kai to win, and I think they're really great. And he'd done the right things and said all the stuff about, I'm just enjoying myself, I'm not thinking about winning, I'm just trying to have a good time, right? So, doing all of that makes what happened at the end way, way, way worse. I have worked in jobs that require public image management and PR and good comms. This is a masterclass in what not to do. He had set his stall out as being humble. He'd set his stall out as being the guy who's just there for the love of the game, right? Who's back because he just can't stay away. If he hadn't done that beforehand, this crash out that he's had afterwards would be less damaging. But I think it is going to be very damaging as a result. Some people are saying he was probably like this all along. Whether they do or not, whether it's a persona or not, once you've put that public persona out there, you really have to maintain it. And he lost his cool, and I think he'll regret it. I said this last night. Emotions run high. He said some things he's probably regretted. But what he said was, and I'm going to scroll through the pictures because we're not here to do, emotion porn. That's not what it's about. I have no interest in pointing at him and going, you're sad, because I'm super competitive too. But it's one thing being disappointed. If he'd gone into those interviews and he was crying, whatever, and really emotional, he'd said, look, I'm really emotional. I really wanted to win, and I'm gutted I didn't. But nonetheless, I'm happy for the winners. I think people would have been a lot more charitable than they are being. But when you go out and say, and this is in several interviews. We hope that that he was surprised about the international jury, and that it was so close, and that they're meant to choose things which are fit for Eurovision. And when you're saying things that, they're meant to pick things that are internationally viable. I know, that's nice. He did show up to the after party in the end. That is going to have a massive damage on your public persona, because people are going to think that you're insincere for a long time after that. These things have consequences. And if I was him, I would have jumped on Instagram the next day, whacked the story up and been like, just reflecting on what happened last night. Obviously, super emotional after the show. I just want to send my congratulations to Kai, and then he could have said something like, I really, really wanted to win. I'm super competitive, and my emotions got the better of me. That would have really limited the damage. It would have calmed this down a lot. But this went down. This reaction has gone down like a wet fart. Even people who wanted Mons to win have been like, come on, this is ridiculous. And I think we have to think about what it says about the Swedish music industry, because most people were very tactical, very smart in their remarks, didn't let on that they were disappointed at this result. But the reason I didn't think Kai was able to win was because of this kind of attitude. I assumed incorrectly that the house would make sure the house wins. The house in Melfest is this, narrow window in terms of genre, this narrow window in terms of songwriters and producers and everything else that totally control the competition. This feels like a reaction of an industry that didn't quite get its way this time. Because, and we'll come on to, and so I'm going to leave that thought there because the second half will require Kai. And we need to go through the last few songs first. But gotta start storing up your thoughts, because once we speak about Kai, I'm going to ask for your thoughts on Mons as well. And we're going to so we're going to pop through the last couple of songs, and then we're going to return to this conversation.
Okay.
At which point, I'm sure you have a lot to say about his reaction.
Oh, yeah.
We'll start with that when we talk about Kai, and then we'll move on to... Now, next song. Hate You So Much, Saade Ludvigsson. Shout out to her, by the way. She came 12th, right? And in her interview afterwards, she was like, there were 3,000 entries, and I came 12th. That's pretty good going. That's the right attitude. So, this kind of felt like an Avicii B-side. Do you know what I mean? From some years ago.
Yeah.
I'm happy for her that I'm happy for her on a personal level that she got the breakthrough and that she made it to the final on her first attempt. I'd like to see something slightly more unique next time. Would be my thought.
Yeah.
What do you think about her?
It was very unoriginal.
And about the song?
Oh, about her, I love her. I just know she's fun at parties, and I want to have drinks with her. Very beautiful woman and a great performer. I feel like the song was too weak, and that's why she got 12th. Not because of her attitude or like her lacking charisma. I like the performance in terms of her energy. The staging was not okay, but I didn't enjoy the song that much. Again, it's generic, and I want something exciting. And this tried to be exciting, but didn't quite hit the mark. And I think it got overshadowed by Dolly Style. I think this would have performed better if Dolly Style wasn't there.
So, Jorgi in chat says, Saga is a hater, Gotham is a hater, a match made in hell. I want to see the Gotham featuring Saga Ludvigsson video in 2026. We're going to send you to Melfest, and you guys can record a vlog together where you're just both just angry.
I don't feel like they would have me at Melfest after all the shit I've talked about this national final.
Well, you never know. Maybe they'll be like, we can convince him. Next, second final in 2 years for Annika Vickerhalder. Let's have a little listen to her song. So, thank you, Frog, and thank you, Mr. Whatever, for the subs. Thank you, Kay, for that donation in there as well. And I agree with your point about Mons. I'm going to come to you first this time. What do you think of Annika?
Again, generic. didn't feel exciting. I really like the staging though. I think they did the most they could have done with the song. Um, it just I don't think I'm the target audience for this song again, and it tries to be. It's one of those songs that tries to be uplifting, but it lacks substance behind it. It doesn't feel unique in any way. I don't know. It blended and with everything else. It didn't stand out.
Yeah.
But I like the staging. I like the staging.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Frederick. Very quickly, thank you so much, Frederick, for the 5 gifted subs. I know you're really excited to see the Melfest video on Friday. I'm really excited to film it tomorrow. And thank you, Sundrop Center, for the $5 donation. Just talking about the previous song, saying every country song this season reminds me of Dash's Austin, Boots Stop Working. I see what you mean. I do see what you mean. With this, I think she has a lot of potential. I think I enjoyed the staging as well. I think they need to stop giving her weak songs. This is the second year she's dragged a weak song to the final.
Yeah, to me, there could have been so much potential in her entry, but it feels like a wine mom song. And the thing is, this woman can clearly sing, so just give her like a moment. Because what is this? She cannot even showcase the voice she has to most of the ability. You know?
No, I completely agree. Now, we're going to move on to the final song in this selection. And I feel like I'm watching chat right now and waiting for them to realize what is coming. Because the second they do, I know chat is going to explode. There it is. Yeah, there it is. So, time to talk about the final entry in this selection. So, got him. What did you think? Chat is going off right now, by the way.
Oh yeah, I can see. I'm just very happy that this won. First of all, I'm one of the biggest defenders of countries sending entries in their own language, and we have been asking for Sweden to send a song in Swedish for so long, and I'm just excited because this is something I thought Sweden would never send. This is the opposite of what Sweden has been doing for years now, and I'm just glad because the song is catchy. It's a little bit silly. It doesn't take itself too serious, but it does put on an amazing show. Like everybody in May in the Basel Arena will be jumping around, singing this and going crazy about the sauna song. So I'm very happy it won. Again, didn't see that coming at all.
No, for real. I mean, I wanted it to win desperately, but I really didn't think it was going to happen.
Same.
I started the international jury really calm, thinking, it's probably not going to happen. Just going to enjoy it. After the first couple of jurors, I don't know if you got this as well. After the first couple of jurors, it was like you almost went, hang on.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you were like, wait a minute. Grybo, thanks for the 100 bits, says they came from the woods of Finland to win the whole thing. It still doesn't feel real. Yes, and they came from last to first in the odds. When they were announced, I'm going to show you guys this. They were 30th and last in the odds. Let's go over to the odds page on Eurovision World. Shout out Eurovision World, as always. We couldn't do this without you. Kai Barabastu, 26th of November, 30th, dead last. And up they went. And this really shows it all. Less than 1% chance of winning. All the way up there. And they fell away slightly after the performances as well. Ollie gives €2 and says, this is Melfest's actual revolution. Speaking of revolution, so what did you make of this then? Because I said my piece. I gave you a minute to gather your thoughts on it. On Mr. Mons and his little meltdown last night.
Just one word I would use for Mons and his little attitude after the show is just entitled. The entitlement is insane to me. I get the whole competitive thing, even though I am competitive as well, but in a different way. But this meltdown of just dragging the winner when they won and saying oh, the international jury will see in May that they did a mistake by not picking me, just shows that you only care about yourself. You didn't really care about the contest. You just wanted an ego boost for you and your dying career. And this is not the place. Eurovision is not the place for that. So I'm glad he got humbled. His tantrum is just so childish to me, and I don't know. I feel like if Kai didn't win and they got second, and Mons won, they wouldn't have had the same attitude. I'm like certain that wouldn't have happened. And I think the best thing for him to have done was being like, well, you know what? I'm glad people liked my staging. I'm glad people that there were people that appreciated my package, my not my package, my entry. And I'm glad that I got to the chance to perform again and got such a high score. Like at this point, you're not gonna win if you have a tantrum. So what is the point of just like making yourself look a fool in front of the entire nation? Because even the people defending him, being like, "Oh, he got a. Why does it need to be fun all the time? Why cannot we just send something serious?" You cannot defend this, and they're not. They don't want to defend him. That just tells you how bad it is. Also, I don't know why is he even speaking. The fact that the jury gave this almost the same amount of scores shows that Revolution was not that good of a song. There you have it. That's my 2 cents.
I agree with everything you said. I'm just still on the fact that you didn't enjoy his package. And chat has really latched onto that.
I'm not a fan of his package. That's all I'm gonna say.
Indeed. So, I'm glad we're on the same page. What's interesting to me, moving swiftly on from Mons, I think we talked about him enough, is if we go to the odds of Eurovision, briefly, Austria went to first for about an hour. Thank you, Unoriginal Eurovision Critic, for that 11.99. I believe that's Polish zloty. Remember, he's in his 40s. Yeah, he should know better. And someone else said it's really notable that Saga Ludvigsen, 19-year-old girl, had a better reaction than a bunch of men in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
And to be fair, you know, obviously Clara Klingenstrom was upset. You could tell that. But at the very least, she was finding silver linings. And she was saying things like, oh, well, you know, it's nice to be the first woman on International Women's Day and stuff like that. You know, she was looking for silver linings. So I kind of slightly better. Anyway, on to the odds. Briefly after this, Austria went up to number 1 in the odds, but immediately bounced back off again because actually Sweden's odds rallied again. And as a result, as you can see right now, the favourite to win the Eurovision Song Contest is Bara Bara Bastu. Now, 18% here, and these high odds of 3.4, 3.5 is, beg your pardon, very unusually high for a number 1 in the odds. Usually after national final season, we had this with Doreen, for example, we have a clear leader in the odds. We don't have that this time. Got him. My question to you, can this win Eurovision?
No. And that's okay, because do we really need another Swedish win at the contest? We don't. And I just cannot see this song winning. There is a lot of televote bait in the final and in the semifinals. Most of it will go to the final anyways. And I think it would, like, the televote will get just like split up. And I'm just like glad that...
Oh? Kai got him. The Swedes, they came for Gotham because he dared to question their chances of winning. There we go. See, you're never safe from the Swedes. You are truly never safe from the Swedes. Give Gotham a couple of minutes. He's probably it looks like his internet has crashed, as you saw from his freezing. While he's gone, I will say, I think it's going to be tough, right? I do think it's going to be tough. Let's go cameras out for a minute. I do think it's going to be tough for Kai to win Eurovision. It is... Yeah, maybe that was Mons. Mons heard his rant and was like, take him down. I do think it's going to be very tough for this to win Eurovision. But in a very even year, it is entirely possible. Someone's asking if I'm going to talk about Portugal today. Yes, I will, later on. Thank you very much for the cheer. Rightfully executed, says Grybo. He's still frozen there, as you can see. Can this win? I think it's very unlikely. I would love for it to happen. It would be my happiest Swedish win in quite some time. This is the first song since Cornelia Jacobs that has come from Sweden that I thought, yeah, I'd be happy if this won. Kanabai says, was not expecting German from Germany and Sweden from Swedish from Sweden. Well, the funny thing is that there have now been 2 Swedish language entries in Eurovision in the last 25 years, and they've both been sung by Finns. While we're waiting for Gotham to get back, Red Giant Stars, thank you so much for the Prime sub. I really appreciate that. Don't forget, guys, you can subscribe for free if you have Amazon Prime on Twitch. It financially supports the channel. It helps us keep doing this. So please do if you are able. There's a few people talking. Again, I'm just going to remind you guys, I know the Israeli song is coming out tonight. We are not covering it on this channel. My position is clear on that. You can go and watch the video. Just search ESC Gabe Israel later after this and you will find it. Sarah says, did you react to Austria or are you gonna? Yes, we are. I'm just going to wait until Gotham comes back before we move on. I can see him there now. Hello, Gotham. You are visible again.
Hello, my internet hates me today.
No worries. You didn't miss anything. So, before we move on quickly, last words on Melodifestivalen. For me, I think that Melodifestivalen at large, I'm going to put our cameras up, there we go. Melodifestivalen improved in some ways this year, and it got worse in some ways this year. It improved in some senses in that we got a few more songs and in the final that were a little bit more interesting. But we were limited in the ways those songs broke convention. I mean, I said, for example, Scarlet, interesting, but it's still a very similar record to Czechia and Soy, similar to Smash Into Pieces and so on. Other than that, Greshela felt more authentic. But overall, I have a lot of the same complaints that I have last year, where a lot of it feels like pastiches, inauthentic, sort of songs written by numbers. And I think it says a lot about the fact that multiple acts came out and went, well, why are the juries voting like this? They're meant to vote for what will do best at Eurovision. Proves what a lot of people have suspected for some time, that there is an element of playing the game that's going on here, rather than writing songs which are meant to genuinely, build emotional meaning for people. What would you say? That's what I think. What would you say about the state of Melodifestivalen at the moment?
I would echo everything you said. It all feels very generic. The same thing again this year. It happens every single year. We just get a lot of filler, generic entries, no soul behind them. But I'm really glad. I think that the fact that Kai won will really change the trajectory of the national final, or at least I hope so, because I feel like what Midfest lacks, and has been lacking for some years now, has been given to us by UMK. And I feel like this is the opportunity for the Swedes and for the whole team working on Midfest to try and be a little bit more experimental and not play it so safe, because clearly, like, such a non-safe song won this year. Clearly, people want something out there, something a little bit different.
So someone says, will you be talking about the UK tonight? Thank you so much for that £5 donation, Jesse. I really appreciate that. We will be. Don't worry. We're going to do some internal selections now. Well, I think we've got a few to cover. So we're going to do 1 or 2 now and then 1 or 2 after San Marino, which is going to be the next section. I think my closing statement on Melfest would be, no one denies that the production and the stagings, the slickness is like the gold standard, right? And that's part of the reason why I think you have to hold the music to such a high standard as well. Because they could take a lot of quite risky stuff that wouldn't work at other national finals and really sell it well, because they have the technical capabilities to do that. I just feel like there's potential here, right? And hopefully they'll take that. Now, let's look at our first internal of the night. We're going to start with Austria, which is obviously one of the favourites now. There's a lot of fans of this in chat. Will Gotham agree? We'll see. But I'm going to play a clip, quick 5 seconds now. Let's have the chorus. So, this is one of the favourites. Straight out of the gate. Has Taya on the songwriting team, and I think there are signs that it has the kind of Taya style, which is starting to develop in Eurovision. Certain songwriters, you start to get these kinds of like little flares that they're quite familiar with, or things that they repeatedly do. So we talked about Sweden. There's a lot of songwriters who have that specific sort of signature style. But I think I'm really sold on this, and it's growing on me a lot. But Gotham, I don't think that's the case for you. And so knowing that I'm going to be quite nice about it, and that I'm probably going to have a different opinion to you, let's start with you. What do you think of this song?
For my opening statement, I would love to say that I'm really glad that Jay gets to participate this year. He's very happy in the chat as well that he can sing so well.
That's
So
why
we
he's
get
not
Jay.
that's why he's not here this week. He's in
Yeah,
rehearsals.
he's rehearsing. Yeah. No, you know what? I don't hate this at all. I like this. I really appreciate that we get a song like this. The thing is, I don't love it. And I really, really wanted to love this. I think he's a fantastic singer. Obviously, he's opera trained. He studies in an opera like school, whatever. Lovely. I just don't know why I'm not clicking as much as I want to with the song. I think it's gonna grow on me most definitely, but I got so hyped for this, and then when I listened to it, I just don't know. It doesn't click for me, and I would really want it to. Do I think that people loving this is justified? Yeah. Like, obviously, this is a very well constructed song with lovely elements, lovely vocal. He looks like he's a fantastic performer as well. I can see that, and I really do appreciate it. But for me, I just don't love it as much as I wanted to love it. You know what I mean?
So I would have agreed with what you said on my first listen. And obviously, it is important to think about what people think on the first listen, right? Because that is the main impression that most people get. But I will say that it's grown on me a lot. There's one thing that, for some reason, has been on my mind recently that it sounds like. And you guys might hate me for this comparison, okay? So, the last 30 seconds of this, when this gets really elevated. This. Right, here we go. You know what I thought of? I still love it, but that's all I can think of in the last 30 seconds now.
Come on. Come on. That's insane.
Well,
That's insane.
chat absolutely hated that comparison, by the way. It's
As
in
they should.
Meltdown. I think it's good, and I think it's really interesting how they'll do it live, whether they do a kind of live chopping effect, which you are allowed to do if the vocal is produced live, or whether he does a long note through that instead, which might make it feel a little different. But I think it presents a really interesting challenge for them. It's like, in my opinion, the biggest risk and the biggest opportunity of this. His voice is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Wow, someone says best Gabe take of the year. I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying. In any case, they have Sergio Hyen in doing the staging, which will help. But this, it's full of risk, and I respect risk, and I love risk. I think it's a really beautifully sung performance. It's obviously totally living or dying on his voice, but he is designed to sing songs that live or die on someone's voice, right? Now some people's taste won't place as heavy an emphasis on that, and as a result, I think it's not going to be for everyone. But there's going to be a big segment of people, especially among the juries, who are going to really appreciate this. The thing that I would bear in mind is the level of technicality of the staging, depending on how much he's moving. It could win the jury. If it's not as technical as Nemo in terms of the movement, remember, part of what made Nemo get such a high score was the fact that Nemo, they showed such a diversity of skills, right? In terms of the different ways in which they sung. The rapping and the singing in normal register and the opera, the movement, the sort of quality of the staging, that really came together. And if you look at the details, the different criteria by which juries in Eurovision are measuring songs, Nemo ticked all the boxes. this ticks some of them for now. There's some of them we're not going to see until it's live. Could it win? Yes, absolutely. But I share some of your concerns, Gotham. I know you've talked about this before, so I'm going to throw it over to you about the things that could stop it winning. So, in your mind, what could make this win, and what do you think are the barriers to it winning?
I think that, like, obviously people are gonna love this. This is gonna get like at least a top 10. That's what I'm sure of. I just don't feel like it can win just because, even though they are different songs, and I've said that before, they are the same genre with Nemo. It's pop opera. And for the past 20 years, we have never gotten two songs winning back to back that are from the same genre. So I don't feel like this will happen this year. I think people will remember Nemo and their song and their performance. And they're gonna think to themselves, oh, it kind of sounds like the song that won last year. You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what is preventing this from winning. Because if we got this like next year, yeah, easily, I would have easily said that this can win. I feel like it can win the juries in if like the staging is very challenging and he manages to sing all of the notes and with an insane movement and everything. Like, I get that. I don't feel like this will be in the top 5 with the televote. I really cannot see it.
I also have the question about... Now, the thing that's worth remembering is that I know a lot of people sort of say, oh, well, you know, people don't remember last year's entries. That's true in most cases, but there's the winners stick around because they're literally... People are reminded of the winner, like, at the start and often during the show repeatedly. So, they hear opera. Most people aren't thinking about it in the way that we think about it, right? On a surface level, people might go, oh, opera won last year, as you say, and it might turn them off and make it do worse with the public. At the same time, I do think this is on for a potential 300 in the jury. One thing that was interesting to me that I do want to throw in there, a friend of mine who's a singer-songwriter and is also opera trained, pointed out that the production, I think she said that like his vocal in the high register is a little odd and it's compressed quite a lot, which muddies it a little bit. I think this will sound a little different live and potentially it'll sound better live. Obviously, 100% dependent on if he hits the notes. And that remains to be seen as well.
Yeah.
So that's our thoughts on Austria. I would be really interested...
Just one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
People in the chat are dragging me saying, oh, what about the Ethnobob streak from 2003 to 2005? Guys, that was more than 20 years ago, first of all. And then throughout the past 2 decades in Eurovision, we have had moments in which the contest changes trajectory. So, like in the early 2000s, yes, it was quite focused on ethnobobs. Yeah, sure, that streak did happen. And then we got the pop transition, and the contest entered into a new era. I would say that after 2016, we entered into a different era. That's what I mean.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's fair enough. And someone actually said in chat, so they're going to vote against their preferences. And will vote for a different style of music that they like less. Bear in mind, opera is more people like... Opera is not the most liked genre at Eurovision because one song that incorporates opera wins. The thing with Eurovision, it's not about... Voters aren't really bound by genre. They're not thinking about it in that way. People don't go, oh, I like rock songs, so I'm going to vote for whatever the rock song is. You know, you have essentially... at Eurovision, I think it's better just to see it as you have a lot of different parts that might not obviously fit together, such as with Nemo, rap and opera and, you know, that kind of beat style that they were using in the background. But they made it fit. So if people like a different blend of something else, it doesn't mean they don't like opera. It doesn't mean they do like opera. It's just, we got to kind of try and think a little bit outside. There are things that people are predisposed to. People are predisposed to like rock songs more, predisposed to like pop, predisposed to like rap, whatever else. But it's still, you've got a series of overlapping Venn diagrams here, right? A series of overlapping circles where you can be multiple things at once. Now, we're going to talk about San Marino next. A surreal competition. Very quickly, while we're doing this intro, let's get a quick idea from chat. In all caps, do you think Austria can win Eurovision? Say yes or no now. Let's see what you guys all think. While we're doing that, I'm going to do a quick intro for San Marino. Now, with San Marino, it is one of the most chaotic shows, one of the most chaotic national finals, and one of the most iconic on the whole continent. I have a special place in my heart for it. It's utter chaos. But one thing you might not have noticed is slowly the production of the final is actually improving year on year. It's like they're understanding the venue better. I went back and watched this show today and I was like, some of this is quite well done. Some of it. Just quickly, I can see that the chat is very split, but there is a lot of yeses. Enough yeses in there that I'd say it's a contender, but not a favourite. It is on the basis of what people are saying. Lots of people saying wait for Luan as well. Now, got him. San Marino. Any overarching thoughts before we talk about, I think I've got 6 or 7 of the songs here. And if you have any you want to add other than the ones we're going to talk about, which will be the top 6 and one other song I wanted to mention, then go ahead. You're muted again, got him. Don't worry. See, this time they're trying to silence him to prevent him talking about San Marino. While we're waiting for Gollum to come back, as you can see, he's just sorting it out. I'm going to talk through this song. I listened through the songs and I quite like this one. And this is somebody who participated in the Luxembourg Song Contest last year. She finished 13th. Now, Diva down indeed. The Diva will be back. As soon as I got him, if you need to leave and rejoin, whatever, don't worry. As soon as you're ready to come back, just say hello. And I'll hear it, and you'll be right back on. Gollum will be back shortly. Merrick's in answer to your question, I'm not sure. Obviously, Matt's had a lot of health problems and stuff in the last year and a half. His health comes first. In the meantime, the ES United team will still be in Malmö. So somebody really hates this because they're just repeatedly putting no in chat. So I saw somebody say that this would have won Danish MGP this year. Now, I'll let you guys, again, let's have another yes or no. Do you think, let's open it up slightly. Let's open it up slightly here. Not yes or no. In terms of winning, do you think this could have finished in the top 3 in any other national final? Any other national final? Yes, definitely. I'm seeing lots and lots and lots of yeses. Here's the thing: is that I put this song in to make a point about San Marino in general, which is that the format is bizarre. They make all kinds of insane decisions, and the voting system makes no sense. Someone says better than any of Luxembourg. Here's the thing. Angie, I'm pretty sure, entered this song for Luxembourg. And it got rejected, is my understanding. So, yes, I think this could have done very well in some other national finals. And it says something that San Marino is starting to accumulate some decent songs. This is not one of the better national finals in terms of quality, right? Overall. But it's clearly improving. I think there's a lot to be said, and I talk about this a lot, about the role of institutional knowledge. And by the way, Gollum, if you want to try speaking again whenever, just see if it starts working. He's still sorting himself out. We think Mons might have got him again. It was Dolly Style before, and now Mons has kicked down the door. He had a package to deliver. Someone saying San Marino reheating Pesmeza Eurovisio nachos. Not just Pesmeza Eurovisio. In general, it's like there's a lot of reheated nachos in this show. But the point is that it's clearly getting stronger. They're building up institutional knowledge. Because it's in the same venue every year, it feels like they are learning how to produce for this venue. The budget is clearly reasonable. They've got sponsors in. They've got a steady funding source in terms of participation fees. They have 200 odd people in the chat. They got some RAI funding as well, as multiple people have pointed out. What you ended up with was actually a decent... hello, Gotham, we can hear you. What you actually ended up with was a decent show. So, Gotham, my question to you is, do you think San Marino is improving at Eurovision? Do you think their national final is improving as well?
I think it is, which I found shocking because like I've seen performances from the past like 2 years and it obviously didn't look great. But this year, like the production value has gone up so much that it's quite shocking because I didn't expect this coming out of San Marino. I think the stage looked very weird. I don't get the stage.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if you agree with me on that.
Yeah. It feels like this is the next thing they need to work out because I mean, you can sort of let's get a slightly wider shot so you can see it. These LEDs and stuff, they're cool, but because of their sort of fence-like shape, it doesn't seem it's not 100% on point, you know. But it's an improvement. It feels like this is the next thing they need to work out, right? I thought they worked out the sound production this year. I think the song quality is kind of getting better because the awareness of it is raised. You know, I think a couple of years ago, people who were just trying to chance it, like, if this was 2 years ago, I would have legitimately considered making a video called I Tried to Go to Una Voce per San Marino because the quality was so low. But the quality of the songs has increased so much that I don't think there's any point in doing that anymore because the video would only be good if you get to the semi-final, right? And so that's probably not going to happen. Sorry, guys. I don't have anywhere near the musical talent available to do such a thing. But it's genuinely, it's improved. That said, we are going to have to talk about my arch nemesis. So, those of you who are not aware, I recently had a big argument on Twitter with Bessa, who has been up to a lot recently. Bessa sent out an email to her mailing list with a load of people on it who didn't sign up to her mailing list and just put everyone's email addresses in the to section. So everyone saw the email address of everyone else. Eurovision Cat was among those who was doxed by this affair. Now, I got into an argument with Bessa. Maybe let me see if I can find it. So we need to search for from Bessa official. I think it is. Yeah, and search my name. Okay. So let me just go back to the scene here. This is me and Bessa arguing because Bessa claimed that one of the former chief medical officers in the US, Anthony Fauci, was sponsoring the murder of dogs in Algeria. Here we are. She said that he killed beagles in horrific flesh-eating experiments. And we had an argument. Credit to her, at the end, she was like, wow, if you're right, that means you've given me the best news I could hope for. And now she's in the San Marino Song Contest. What did you think of her song last year, pre and post revamp.
I actually like the big version of the song. I think the revamp kind of ruined its chances, especially with that staging. I think like the staging solidified the death we knew that was about to encounter after hearing the revamp. Um, I didn't like it after the revamp. I think it lost that Albanian identity,
Yeah.
and I hate when like Albanian and like winners decide to change and revamp their song into English after winning FIC. I hate that, and I think it shouldn't have qualified. So I'm glad that it didn't.
And how about this? Let's have a little listen. We'll skip forward to see if we can catch some of the chorus. So, I don't know what it is with this growing Albanian trend of former Eurovision artists flopping and then going to San Marino. Can I just say that Salvaje by Ronella Hajati is one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my life.
I agree.
As for this, now, a favourite thing, Gotham, as I'm sure you've seen before, is we like to appreciate lyrics on this channel. I know that's something that you really enjoy doing too. Guys, if you want some lyrical analysis on Eurovision 2024, Gotham channel is the place for that. He did a couple of really great videos where he did a tier list. And if you're here on this channel, you probably like tier lists. Gotham did one ranking the lyrics of Eurovision 2024, going into so much depth. It was super, super interesting. And he's also done some stuff on lyrics for 2025 as well. So make sure to go and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, Gotham, I'm going to read some lyrics to you, and I would like you to analyze them. Ring ding ding ding, the time is up. Hayde, let's dance non-stop. I'm gone, set all the rules tonight. I'm your sweet delight. Only if you got the ticky ticky ticky. Got the ticky ticky. Only if you got the ticky ticky ticky. Got the ticky ticky. Only if you got the ticky ticky ticky. Got the ticky ticky. Only if you got the ticky ticky ticky. Got the ticky ticky. Ticky ticky yo, ticky ticky yay. Ticky ticky, nobody stands in my way. Ticky ticky yay. Ticky ticky yo, ticky ticky, that is the way that I know. What do you read into this? What are you seeing in this?
Thank you for having me. It was great being on this live stream. No, I hate this. Awful. Like it doesn't even. It's that bad that it doesn't feel like AI wrote it, because there is no way AI would write something like this. Do you know what I was thinking? Like I was sitting down and being like, "What the hell is a tiki?" Because I don't know if you know what a tiki is. I still don't know what a tiki is.
No, this is what I was going to ask. What is the tiki, Bessa? What is the tiki? How do we have the tiki?
They call tikis here like the request for money in the Netherlands. That's what Dutch people use to get money back from their friends. They send a tiki.
Is she asking for a sugar daddy or something? Like,
I don't know.
What is your game plan here? What is your game plan? In any case... Sorry, go on.
No, I just hate it. That's it.
In any case, we all know only one man has the tiki, truly. And that's all I have to say about that. I love Matt Black. Unironically, I adore Matt Black. Next up, something interesting. Now, this is weird. This came fifth, and I get the impression this guy's actually quite a well-known pianist in San Marino. In Italy, rather. But it's an instrumental. It wouldn't have been able to go to Eurovision. I'll give you a tiny taste of it. Let's sit forward to the middle. So, obviously this couldn't have gone to Eurovision. But it's odd because we've never had something like this in a national final where it couldn't have gone to Eurovision. So I don't really know in what terms to like analyze it, because it's objectively not operating in a lane with anyone else. It's like a totally different thing. It's very interesting to me that this was allowed to compete and did so well. But I presume if it had won, they would have just sent second place. What did you have any thoughts about this?
Yeah.
And also, don't hesitate to say if there's any songs you want me to go back to other than the top 5 in this show. Tell me. Well, I'll go find them and put them on. You just tell me. Go ahead. What do you think?
I felt so what was this? That was my thought after this performance was over. During the performance as well, I just don't know what was the point of like even submitting this to the contest, because like this is not like Umka or Midfest. Like there isn't like prestige to it. Just I wanted to, or like Sanremo. You're not entering it just to like afterwards say, oh yeah, I won this contest, but I actually don't care about going to Eurovision. No, this is like a national final that's only used for Eurovision. So I just don't understand why they let this in to the national final, because
So-
obviously it cannot go.
So, Gotham, I'd like to reflect to you a suggestion from chat. Firstly, I want to say, though, thank you so much, EllieBod1, for the 1999 super chat. I appreciate that so much. That support means the world, and I love you very much. Gotham. Now, here's an interesting suggestion from chat. There is a certain Albanian singer who has now got a lot of free time. If this had won, do you think that he could have added the word tiki in order to qualify it for Eurovision? And if they added the word tiki, would you agree that it would be sailing on its way to a Eurovision victory?
No, I will not entertain the tiki anymore.
Okay.
I've had enough.
Well, I'm going to tell Bessa. She always replies to tweets, so if I tweet at her and say that you're hating on her, she'll reply. And she'll come for you. Next, we have...
Can have a go.
Next, we have the campest thing ever. I love this. I'm going to play it's so catchy. It's so silly. It's so fun, right? And I think this is really, really cool. Quickly, before I talk more about it, there's a couple of reminders I just want to put in. We're about an hour and a half into the stream. We still have a couple of internals and Portugal to cover. Don't worry, we're going to cover all of that. Gotham does not have the tiki. You are indeed correct, Mint Mango. But I just want to remind you guys of a few things. Firstly, if you haven't already, on YouTube and Twitch, you'll see those follow and subscribe buttons. Make sure you press them. There are videos every single Friday at 7 p.m. UK time. We are live streaming Sunday at 8 p.m. UK time. Although bear in mind, in April, it's going to shift around a little bit, but you'll get plenty of notice. We are also this Wednesday streaming with Iceland's entry for Eurovision this year vibe. We're going to have a trivia quiz with a secret guest that I'm not telling you yet. There's going to be an open Q&A session. You guys are going to get to ask your questions live in chat. And that'll be really fun too. It's going to be really fun, super casual, and we're raising money for the Ukraine Freedom Fund while we do it. Secondly, make sure you subscribe to Gotham if you haven't already. He makes great videos. And if you like what you've seen tonight, you'll be glad to know there's plenty more. Finally, the other thing is the ESC Game Discord server. There is a link in the description. I'm about to terrify the mods as I do every week. Now, every week, I pride myself on the strong tradition we have on this stream of getting my phone a raid alert notification because loads of people join the Discord at once. So I'm going to ask you all, look how terrified Kat is in chat right now. She's a moderator on the Discord. Go join the Discord right now. Let's get that alert again. The link is in the description. All of you get down there right now. I want to see all of you in there in a moment. There is, it's a great community. It's an absolute Thunderdome. People are shitposting all the time. You'll have loads of fun if you come and join. So please do. Go smack those buttons. Now, while Kat and Adam and Jay's days are ruined, I can see you all doing that now. Thank you very much. Let's play this song. And then, Gotham, I'm going to come to you first once I've played a clip from it. Let's skip forward to the chorus. Where is it? This isn't the chorus. Where is it? Okay, I'm just going to play 10 seconds of it from here. So, we love beautiful lyrics. Here's some more. Love me, I'm a me. 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 Touchez-moi. And there it is, guys. You gave me the raid alert notification. Thank you so much. I love you all when you do that. I love it. Thank you all so much. You've ruined Jay and Kat's evening. Got him. I thought this was super camp and actually really fun, even though it's objectively very silly. What did you think?
It's the definition of camp. And I'm just so glad we got an entry that used drag queens in the performance after Harem Girls lost. I feel like these queens avenged them. I just thought it was camp, and I actually don't hate the lyrics because this was never gonna win. So what is the point of being sorry about the lyrics? Let's just have fun. And I did have fun. So I'm glad this was there.
Yeah. Some things I think are just a bit... you can have some stuff. I mean, this is the thing that maybe you had with certain songs in Melfest, which weren't Dolly Style, right? That I had with Dolly Style. Sometimes it's okay for stuff to just be fun, right? And I think for me, the thing that makes the difference, I find stuff fun if it's self-aware. Like, I thought Dolly Style was self-aware. Like, it's silly and they're embracing it. This feels self-aware because it's just so, like, silly. And yeah, fun is allowed. Fun is allowed. And just like I have fun when I get people to brigade my own Discord server. I thought this deserved a good result. I think it was good that it didn't go to Eurovision, though, because it would have come last. But that's okay. Now, we are moving on to the song that just missed out. One of the songs that just missed out. Entering the top 3, Teslenko with Storm. Let's not forget, this was a wild card in Vidbir, the Ukrainian national final. He dropped out and participated here instead. I'm going to play a little clip and then got him as our resident Slavic correspondent. I'm coming to you first. What did you think of Teslenko's performance? Go ahead.
I think for him it was the right choice to submit this to San Marino instead of submitting it to Vidbir, because this wouldn't have gone past the wildcard round. And do you know what? I don't like hating on fellow countrymen, but this was not enjoyable in any way to me. I don't like the song at all. I'm actually surprised that it got such a high result. Didn't expect it to get such a high result at all. But yeah, what I said, if this was in the Vidbir lineup, we wouldn't have made it past the wild card.
You know what I thought, and I'd be curious for your thoughts on this. Maybe I should play a little... I'm going to play a little clip of the song that I'm referencing, that I want to compare it to, just in case anyone isn't familiar with it. But Melovin entered into Vidbir with his song Dreamer. And this kind of felt like a worse executed version of Dreamer, okay? So I'm just going to play a little 5-second clip so people can get the idea of Dreamer, and they'll see what I mean. So that's the broad kind of vibe we're getting on. It kind of felt similar, but Melovin, the energy felt better, sort of propelled, right? Do you think that's a fair comparison? Or am I maybe barking up the
I
wrong
think
tree?
it is.
Okay.
No, actually, I'm surprised that you finally made a good comparison, because I can honestly see this one. I don't feel like it's like the Timo version of Melovin from last year, because first of all, Teslenko is not like such a wide known name in Ukraine. And second of all, you can tell that he's not like an experienced performer watching the Storm live show, whatever. Also, the outfit here is insanely ridiculous. I don't know who is styled this man, but what are we wearing?
Yeah, I'm not sure about this either, to be honest. It's a lot. It is a lot.
It is.
Yeah, doesn't work for me.
Yeah, no.
Let's keep moving. We're going to go to second place now, which was The Rumpled with You Get Me So High. For whatever reason, bands in this style seem to do really well in San Marino, and I'm not sure why that is. It's not the first time it's happened. So, I know you probably weren't born Gotham. I just realised I played the song without showing people it on screen. But you heard it, right? You all heard it, so it's fine. This is, if we compare it to other songs in this style from this competition, I think this was better than Peaked Jacks. I know that's not a high bar. It gave me a little bit of kind of Tony Hawk Pro Skate / like, you know, the sort of skateboarding, snowboarding games from sort of early 2000s and stuff. That was the references I was feeling from this, personally. What do you think?
I agree. It just feels a little bit too dated for me. And to be fair, I think would it be unfair to say that this would have won if To the Italia wasn't submitted to San Marino?
Yeah, this would have won. This came second, so it would have been the
Yeah,
winner without Tutta l'Italia.
Yeah, that's just again. It does remind me of Big Jacks. I think Big Jacks did it better. I don't. It's a little bit cringe to me. This song, I don't like it at all. And yeah,
It wasn't my
it just feels dated. Yeah.
It wasn't my favorite just because I think it's entering to a really tough genre to stand out in, because you're going to end up, I call it the Greta Van Fleet problem, which is that you're always just going to get compared to the people who are the best at it. And a lot of sort of fans of Greta Van Fleet's style of music don't like Greta Van Fleet because they just see it as derivative and unoriginal. That's the problem, is you're living up to such a high standard, and something that was the pinnacle of music for, you know, in terms of popularity for a really long time. The tradition that is built there makes it very, very difficult to get it right. And that was the problem for me. Now, we're going to move on to the winner, which if any of you watched Sanremo, you will be familiar with. Let's just play 10 seconds. So, for those of you who don't know, the Sanremese broadcaster called Gabri Ponte up after Sanremo and said, hey, do you want to come enter your song into the San Marino Song Contest? And that's how this happened. And now it's going to Eurovision. It's a massive, massive hit in Italy. And may I remind you, they have Italy in their semi-final as a voter. So this will get at least 12 points. Gotham, what do you think of this hilarious turn of events?
I love it. I love it. Like, to be fair, I kind of expected to see this in the San Marino lineup before they got announced. I wasn't sure if they were gonna win, because if you remember last year, Loredana Berthe also entered into UVPSM. She didn't win. So I was like, oh, what if like San Marino does that shit again and like the most famous song doesn't actually win? But yeah, I'm really glad that we're gonna get this in Eurovision. I think if they invest some money into this, I think this can get their best result ever in the contest. And it's just fun. It's fun.
I completely agree. I think it's catchy. It's fun. It's well engineered. And I think sometimes you just... The thing that I've had a problem with when it comes to San Marino is that in the past few years, what they've brought hasn't been... It has been at times a little ramshackle. Like in Megara's defense, it only came apart at the very last minute, and that was partly because of in-ears not functioning and everything. Peak Jacks was not together at all, in my opinion. This, I think, is going to do very well. And of course, we can look at it in the context of its semi-final as well. So let's do that. I believe it's a semi-1. Yes, it is. There we go. Second half. If we look at this semi, I mean, we'll talk about Portugal later in depth, but now I look at this and I actually think it could close the show. I think it would be a really good show closer. I mean, it was designed as a song to be a show closer or opener. I think it's going to close the show, and I think it's going to qualify. Let's not forget, look up at these pre-qualified. It has Italy and it has Switzerland. Let's not forget Italian speakers in Switzerland. So, how do you feel about its chances in this semi? Now we know what we know.
Oh, much better. Much better. We also, Albania is there. Albania always gives a lot of points to Italy. I feel like this is definitely closing the semi. I don't see anyone else but this closing the semi. And I think it will qualify. I think it will.
Yeah?
We obviously have a lot of televote bait in the semi, but I feel like this is one of the more feels a little bit more grunt than some of the other televote baits. And I honestly don't see how this cannot qualify with like an okay staging.
Yeah, I'm inclined
But
to agree.
like,
Sorry, go on.
yeah, whether they want to like achieve their best result in the contest, that depends if they can do more than just okay. But even if with like a simple okay-ish staging, I think this can qualify.
I think it's going to qualify. We're going to go through. Let's
Yeah.
make this. This is a bit of a teaser because we're going to go through who we think is going to qualify after we've covered the remainder of the songs, because we now have 95% of the information, right? So you can't. Stephen says you can't have Iceland, Estonia, Sweden, and San Marino all qualifying. Let's see. I think it's possible, but we'll have to find out. Now, so that's San Marino. We have a few more to cover, and time is getting on, so we are going to need to speed forward. We've had some internal selections this week. We already covered one of them, and we have a couple more to cover. Those are Czechia and the UK. I'm going to start with the UK, and then we will move on to Czechia afterwards. So let's get a little taste of this first.
No clue, but I liked it.
So, got him. I have a lot of thoughts.
I'm conflicted.
I have a
Yeah.
lot of thoughts, so I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, I'm conflicted because there are parts in this which I really, really like. There are also parts which I really, really dislike. I feel like it's a little bit disjointed, and I feel like it drags itself. By like the second minute, I'm already like done with it. I don't want to like listen to the same chorus all over again. I obviously they have like great vocals and they will be amazing live on stage because they're like musically theater trained. Um, and I think like a lot of like if this gets a great staging, it can do well. And well for the UK, it's like mid-table. I don't think this is competing for the top 10 or anything higher than that. Um, the juries will appreciate this more than the televote. I don't see the televote going wild for this. I wouldn't be too surprised if they get like another 0 points. But for now, I think like if the BBC invests in staging and does the staging quite tastefully, this can get like 15th, 16th, 17th. But I don't feel like it's that competitive, and it just drags a little bit too much than I would have liked it to. Yeah, I'm bored.
Yeah. It's funny that a lot of people in chat are saying it's kind of like a Glee song. I agree with that. And also, don't you think that there's I don't know their names yet. I need to learn their names. But on the top right, kind of looks like Emma Pillsbury from Glee. I got that little vibe. I mean that I mean that in a complimentary way. I think this is really not going to get any higher than 17th, 18th. It predicates itself on a gimmick of the tempo changes that, in my opinion, becomes really frustrating, and it stops me from engaging with the song. I have a lot of problems with how the UK is selecting their entries at the moment. I'm going to go to cameras only to have a little bit of a rant. I have a lot of problem with the way in which the UK is selecting its entries at the moment. I don't know what the tender process is like behind the scenes. I don't know what the selection process is like. They say that BBC Introducing is involved. But, so basically, there are two radio stations, mainstream radio stations in the UK, run by the BBC, that play music a lot. Those are Radio 1 and Radio 2. Radio 1 is like a lot more current, a lot more up to date, younger DJs, more interesting music, more sort of, like risky stuff, right? More plugged into what current trends are and everything. Sort of the equivalent of the radio station in Finland that helps with the UMK selection. Radio 2 is more aimed towards people in their like 40s, in my opinion. It's a lot more bread. It's a bit bready, you know? This song debuted on Radio 2. It's a Radio 2 style of song. And I think we are looking in the wrong direction. And we have been for some years. And the thing that frustrates me is that we have all of the resources we need. We have more money than basically anyone else. And the BBC has a big budget for Eurovision and fiercely defends it because the show represents exceptionally good value for them, even if they spend a good amount of money. And they know that if we're favoured to do well, the viewership jumps and it's even better value for them. So it's not that they don't want to do well, right? It's not that they don't want to do well, but we had that sea change in 2022 and we are sending things that are better. This is still way above Michael Rice level, right? But we've sort of flamed out a little bit. It feels like the momentum has gone and we've lost that kind of... What we should have done after Sam Ryder was to go more risky. And instead, we've gone in the opposite direction and gone towards the middle of the road. I know I talk about Rina Sawayama a lot, but can you imagine if we'd followed Sam Ryder up with Rina Sawayama? Some like proper contemporary dark pop. That could have been really, really special. And there was contact made. For whatever reason, it didn't work. But like we have the money. So to be honest, to be frank, if the BBC don't have the budget to contract whoever they want, whoever will agree to do it, then they should do. This song feels engineered in a Scandinavian songwriting camp. And that's because that is exactly where it came from. I'm going to show you on this page. Let's have a little look. Songwriters. Thomas Stengard, Julie Aagaard. Now, I know for a fact, because I know some people who go to these songwriting camps, certain teams of songwriters essentially get squirreled in a room with artists who've come to the songwriting camp to specifically like either take ideas and build them into songs or similar. The problem is, look at the record of Julie Aagaard and of Thomas Stengard. Julie Aagaard they write a lot of songs for both of them for Melfest and stuff. Some of these songs, I'm like, okay, fine. And obviously, you know, Thomas Stengard has Only Teardrops in his quiver, but then I look at some of the others. I look at, you know, Fade to Black, which I don't think was very good. I look at Sister. I Am What I Am is awful. We have the most incredible indie music scene in this country, right? The most incredible indie music scene. With so much interesting stuff going on. You can go to one indie music night in London and you will find 3 or 4 acts who would grab this opportunity, you know, with 2 hands, right? And really like, and really take it forward and do something interesting, you know? Instead, it's like we're being shy. It's like we don't want to take any risks. So we send music that doesn't take any risks. And what we end up with is a kind of new normal, but the new normal we've reached, it's above what we were at before, but it's not anything exciting. You know what? I would happily take a 25th place finish every other year if it meant we were taking big risks every year. There's some great indie artists, amazing indie artists out there who'd be so good for this context. We have, you know, London is more Eurovision acts in the last 3 years live in London than in any other city. We are literally, this city that I am sitting in right now is the place where so much of the contest, you know, comes from. You know, think of Nemo and Luke Black. And if you look at this year in some of the national finals, people like Henke, for example, in Portugal, that we'll talk about in a minute, making interesting music, doing interesting things that might be risky, but that people connect with. You know, these girls have a great voice between them. They have a great voice. The harmony is going to be really nice. It's a bit yeehaw Ogene, but, you know, I think they're going to do a good performance, and I think this could get into the middle teens. I just think the approach is wrong at the moment. Like, because the last few years, I respect the UK delegation for putting together what I thought should have, you know, had potential to be quality packages. I thought Dizzy was slick and nicely done. It didn't connect with people, but that's okay. I thought it was nicely done. And I loved some of the, you know, concepts, like the gravity shift and stuff in the staging. Really cool. It's great that we're doing that kind of stuff now. But we're just not thinking about it in the way we should be. Don't get me wrong, I'm much happier with this and much happier with the state of the UK and Eurovision in general than I was before 2022. But yeah, it feels like we're stuck here somewhere. And yeah, I'm frustrated. Someone says there are a lot of Sam Fenders in the UK, but no one gives them a chance. You're right. And actually, there is a big problem in this country. Sam Fender has talked about it himself. A lot of artists don't get the support and end up, like, I know a bunch of great artists, right? From, I was very, like, my music class at school, bizarrely, was a sort of, like, kind of golden generation for the school, where, like, the entire music class went to music college, with the exception of, like, 3 people. I had an offer to go and do drums at music college, and I decided not to do it. You have all of these people, but I know all of the people who are now trying to make music in that class. Loads of them have second jobs. Because even though they're getting some traction and stuff, they can't they can't sustain themselves because the music industry in this country is not working for artists. So there's layers and layers of problems here. I would really, really love to see a proper British new music festival, kind of in the UMK style. We could make it work with the staggered releases. Give them a Radio 1 slot and a Radio 2. You can do both. Give them a Radio 1 slot and a Radio 2 slot, 7 or 9 or 11 songs over a couple of weeks. Build them up. We don't even need to put it in a big audience or whatever. Give it a studio, a nice live lounge studio or something, just so they can all produce a really special package. Whack it on BBC One on a Friday or Saturday night. It will get a good viewership. It would get a good viewership, and then get the public involved. I can't believe I'm saying that. And then start to get some indie acts in. I feel like if we were taking 10 songs, right, and putting them to the public, we can still have a song like What the Hell Just Happened, but we can have songs that draw on like indie and rock music and, maybe even metal and like lots of different sort of pop sounds and everything. Yeah. There's a lot we can do, and we're not doing it at the moment. Do you have any more thoughts? I know I've gone on a massive rant there, Colin, but that summarizes how I feel about all of this.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the UK has such great potential, but like nobody cares to use it. And I would love something alternative to come out of the UK for once, and we still haven't gotten that. And just another year of being okay with the UK entry when I could have been over the top. And yeah, you need more risk.
Yeah. People are talking about BBC introducing in chat, by the way. BBC introducing were involved in this process somehow. I don't know how exactly, but they have been involved in the process. Well, let's move on to another internal selection. I would say, guys, I highly recommend you watch the music video for this. We don't get good music videos anymore. This one is great. It tells a story. It's like a mini movie. I'm going to play a little clip. It's going to be a little clip. Let's find the chorus. Should be in here somewhere. So, it's dramatic. Bit of a Bond theme, maybe. But I think it's one of the Czechs' strongest entries ever in Eurovision. What do you think, Gotham?
It's my favorite Czech entry of all time. I was so hyped for him as an artist. I think thank God, he's one of those artists that enters Eurovision because he has a point of view and he has like a vision for what he can do, and we can see that with the music video. He obviously is very excited to do this. I love the song. I know everybody's hating on the dance break. Is it necessary? No. Do I hate it? No. I don't mind it particularly. I wouldn't hate a Czech win. I would be very excited if Czechia wins this. Can they win? I don't think so, but I just love the song a lot. I really, really do. And I don't care about the dance break and the hate it gets at all.
So the dance break, I'm going to play a little clip just so you guys know. It's obviously a ballad, but then we have this section in the back. Where is it? I've gone too far. You get this kind of vibe. And then it kind of goes back in again to the main thing. I actually think you can stage this really well. I think people are, at the moment, I think the mistake people are making is they're looking at this and the track in isolation. And I think this will feel much more natural in the actual performance. I know that Adonis really wanted a dance break in this and felt very strongly about this decision, very passionate. And as a result, I have confidence. We know he's a great singer, a really, really great singer. There's a reason why when he did that acoustic version in Malta, he shut up the odds. I think this is a very exciting time for the Czechs. Really, really, really exciting time. And it's going to make more sense on stage. Do you think they made the right decision to go internal? Cancel the SCZ and do this instead?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The jumping quality is insane. And I really liked Vesna. I really did. I didn't mind Aiko last year, but this feels just like in another league. And if like the Czechs use internal selection to select hot men with mustaches, I'm all for it.
Well, there we are. I do want to say again, because there have been some people saying this could win. So I'm going to ask you all in chat now. One simple question. I want you to answer again with a yes or no, just like we've done the whole night. Can this song win Eurovision? Yes or no? Tell me now. I look forward to hearing what you've got to say. Let's have it. Come on.
Yes. I say yes.
If one of the mods want to set up a poll in Twitch chat, that might be useful. So far, I am seeing some yeses, but we're seeing more no's than we saw with Austria. Austria, there was more people saying yes. So at the moment, it feels like this one, there's a clear constituency of people who think it does. Enough for me to say that with the right live, it could be a contender. But I would say the majority opinion at the minute is that it can't. That said, I think it's on for a top 10. I absolutely think this is on for a top 10. I think it's dramatic. I think it stands out. And I'm really glad that the internals have delivered us some great, great ballads this year. I think there's some really fun, really dramatic ones that we very much needed. Twitch chat, vote now. There is a poll. Is Czechia winning? It will probably be mostly no's, but if you think it could be in with a chance of winning, vote yes. So we'll just wait for that poll to finish off. In the meantime, I'm just going to remind you guys again, firstly, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure to follow on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe to Gotham as well. He's this way. There he is. Over here. There we go. Yes, thank you so much for being here. We stream every Sunday at 8 p.m. New videos every Friday night at 7 if you prefer your opinions in a slightly more, nicer, smoothly, well-rounded box. But of course, we can't cover everything in video format, so it's important to have these streams to make sure we get through everything, and also so we can explore stuff in a little bit more depth. Now, that poll's just gone through. On Twitch, 90 people said that no, this can't win the contest. 41 said yes, it could. That is a sizable number of people. We did poll Austria before, and I believe it was approximately 50-50. Maybe one of the mods can tell me that. Gotham, you're just having a couple of network problems at the moment. So I'm just going to give you a moment to... You might want to try leaving the call and rejoining it. That concludes the internals. And we're going to move on to Portugal. This is going to be the last one we cover this evening. Really, really interesting national final this was. Really interesting. Did not go the way many people expected. We will talk about the results, of course. We're going to get that Misha Eurovision recap up first, as is the tradition on this channel. So, just waiting for Gotham to return. But in the meantime, we will go and have a little look at the first song. I will say, make sure to subscribe to Misha Eurovision if you haven't already. They are a fantastic resource for the community. So I'm going to switch back to this one. And we're going to start on the first song, and then hopefully Gollum will be short. So, this is Bombazine, Apaga Tudo. Now, I will say, in general, I thought the song quality in this show was pretty high. And there are a lot of songs that I enjoyed that I maybe couldn't see in Eurovision, but that I enjoyed nonetheless. And this was one of them. It gave me a little bit kind of, obviously the dress is very consciously designed to be kind of Freddie Mercury kind of, I mean, the way, like, he's giving that vibe. But these kinds of little disco bangers, I like them. I wouldn't want them at Eurovision. But this is a nice song. Like, it's good. You can have disco music that relaxes you, and this was one of them. You know, it didn't pretend to be anything other than what it was, and I really, really appreciated that. I'm just looking out for Gollum, and he'll be back shortly. In the meantime, let's move. I will move through the songs. I want to hear what you guys have to say about these, so please do. While we're waiting for Gollum to get the technical issues sorted, you guys are the second pundit on the stream, so I want to hear what you got to say. I want to hear your voice. People are comparing it to Disco by LPS. I think it's a similar style. This is a lot classier. I agree with Eskimo Pete that it is better. In the show, they said, vote for us if we made you dance. I did find myself bopping my head a little bit. Now, we're going to move on to song 2, which was Margarita Campero. So, someone says you forgot Gollum. He's just having some technical issues. He will be back shortly. He's just, I think his camera got really low on battery, so he's just quickly charging it, and then he'll be back. So give him 5 minutes. Her voice is really nice. I think this is another one where that I felt that the musical level of this show was very, very high. Very high, one of the highest of the season. And I went, listening through, I was like, there was a lot of songs I'm like, this is really nice. The thing is, there's a lot of songs where it's like, I would want to be sitting, like, on the seaside in Portugal while I listen to them, right? And this is one of them. I think it's very nice, it's very sweet. Again, not for Eurovision. But I think that at the same time, they've made a conscious decision to not do songs for Eurovision, right? They want it to sort of thrive on its own merit. And they've clearly built up a good respect in the sort of Portuguese, among the sort of Portuguese music industry, because we're getting a lot of nice things. People saying, had no business doing that well in the jury. Let's remind ourselves. So this song did, in fact, get 6 points from the jury. We're going to have a lot to say about that jury, so don't worry, but we're going to come on to that in a moment, because in particular relation to the next song. Just a reminder that Gollum will be back with us in a couple of minutes, so you don't need to worry. Next, we are on to what is my favourite of the selection. So let's have a little clip of I Wanted to Strong. So, Henke. Robbed, I agree. Now, there's something which I've noticed for some years, which is that vocalists who have a background in metal are always victims of pretty high-level snobbery, both at Eurovision and in national finals. We saw this with Blood and Glitter by Lord of the Lost, who, by the way, commented under the Last Places ranking video the other day. They thanked me for their placement in A tier, which was very nice of them. Here's the thing. Regardless of the genre of music, if this happens in your national final, where the song that wins with the public gets 0 from the jury, that is a massive, massive red flag, and it should make you go, what is wrong with my jury? Why is it like this? I'm not saying Henke should have won the jury. In fact, I think if Henke had won the jury, given that the vocals were a little shaky, that probably wouldn't have been right either. But 0 from the public, 0 from the juries is bizarre. It is really, really bizarre, and I'm not surprised that people are mad about them. Now, I think it's important that we don't let the actions of a small number of jurors undermine what was a good show with good songs, has a really great team behind it. And Portugal, the Portuguese delegation, you should never underestimate them because they do really, really know what they're doing. And that showed with Grito last year. Steven says, juries are not there to vote similarly to the televote. No, they're not. But if there is that big a discord, that, and it's not the only one here. I mean, there are some big disagreements. You see, obviously the 6-0 here for Margarita. You've got, Diana, 12-5. The pretty major disagreements. Jessica Pina, 10-2. What entries would you move below? I mean, it's difficult for me to say, Dolphin Dane, because on one hand, if we look at this jury result, I found some of these songs quite dull, but there's a few things that I have a problem with. I think Josh should have been much higher as well. So I would have completely reordered it. If I was voting in this show, I would have voted very, very differently. But at the same time, I think because of the way the show is structured, bringing in an international jury probably isn't the way to go. But there we are. I think it was a mistake. We're just waiting again. Gotham still having some technical issues. He'll be back soon. We're going to talk about, I believe I've missed one actually. Or are they? No, I think they've just been ordered wrong. We're missing one. We'll come back to it at the end. Let's have a little listen to Ninguém by Blue A. So, I think it's a sweet song. I'm going to show the lyrics because I actually think the lyrics are very important to this. I was sad to see it only get 1 point overall. But it's a song, obviously, as you can see by the stick, Blue A has visual impairment. Obviously, the dancers have Down syndrome. And it's a song about living in a world where you are, where you have where you have a disability of some kind, and obviously the world is not built for you, right? In any case, I'm not surprised it didn't do well because the song is pretty boring, but I like the message and I'm glad it made it to the final. I actually thought it would do better because I thought people would resonate with it. It's the kind of thing that has a lot big of a potential audience than you'd expect. We shouldn't forget that actually a massive, massive, massive proportion of the population is disabled in some way. Way higher than you'd expect. The amount of people who are living with things that you would have no idea about. Obviously, in the case of Down syndrome or blindness, it's visible, right? You can see it. But the amount of people who live with disabilities we can't see, we don't know about. But yeah, I just found it a little boring. And I can see that in the chat, there are some people who find that it was quite boring and who didn't really enjoy it. And there were some others. So Caitlin says, cute idea, respect the disability representation as someone who's autistic. And someone else says that it made them cry. See, there you go. It is going to connect with people, right? No one believes you when you have an invisible illness. Exactly right. There we go. Gotham should be back in the next few minutes, guys. He's just getting that camera charged so we can sprint through the last 20 minutes. We're going to go through to Jessica Pina. Calafrio. Now, let's not forget that this one was right up there. 12 points in total, which put it 4th in the show overall. Although, I'm not sure how the tiebreaker works here, because I'm pretty sure... Oh yeah, there we go. 6th in the show overall, but in a 3-way tie for 4th place, tie broken by the televote. So this... Pigeon Master says vibe. Yeah, lovely vibe. Lovely vibe, but again... I'm sitting by the sea in Portugal. I'm drinking in the sun, It's that kind of song. I felt that it could have done with... It could have done with a little a progress. I wanted to be taken, you want to be taken on a journey. Felt like we didn't really go anywhere. And I'd be curious to know who else thinks that. She played the trumpet live. Well, I mean, you get my respect for that. I love it. It's not just Eurovision. It reminded me a little bit of... I'm going to have to find the song from last year. Give me a moment. Festival de Canção 2024. There's a specific song it reminded me of that... it wasn't Pelas Costuras. Leomedea. That... Now listen to this clip again, because this is why it reminded me. You got that? There's the underlying rhythm. The yes, Scholastico, I love Honest Guide, great channel. That rhythm, for those of you who don't know, that is like a very common rhythm, and you'll see it a lot in Portuguese, Brazilian music. Now, I thought a really great example of how to do this well in this context was Leo Medea. Same rhythm, but it's just got a little more. It's a little more upbeat. It's got a little more to it, That's the kind of thing I want to see. I would love to see this kind of style at Eurovision. I just think you need the right song. You need something that, it needs to carry it along. Whereas this, it's more of a relaxed bossa nova. I mean, part of the reason why it's such a popular pattern is, it sounds good. It sort of hooks into your brain in the right way, but also it's so versatile. For Eurovision, I think we need an upbeat bossa nova song for it to work. Something that really pays tribute to some of the greats of, sort of Portuguese and Brazilian music. I mean, Leo Medea is Brazilian Portuguese. And I mean, I've talked about, like, when it comes to good Latin music and good Portuguese music, there are some real greats of the genre. And in fact, one thing I remember long ago when I was very, very young, and it really stuck with me, and it's part of the reason why I have a real appreciation for this kind of music. And Gotham is back, so I'm going to add him back onto the screen. Welcome back, Gotham. He's changed his camera, but honestly, you still look fine. I saw when I was very, very young. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Ibrahim Ferrer. Ibrahim Ferrer was a very famous Cuban musician. I'm going to get a picture of him up just so you guys can see him. Ibrahim Ferrer. He's from Cuba. He died in 2005. His last tour was in late 2004. I was so young at the time that I barely remember it, but one of my earliest memories is going to an Ibrahim Ferrer show and dancing in the aisles to music that carried with it some of the same influences. And because of that, I would love to see something like this at Eurovision. I have gone Buena Vista Social Club, exactly right, Tiki Librarian. That is the thing. So I would love to see, love to see something like this at Eurovision. This wasn't the song. Got him. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Did you manage to fight off Dolly Style and Mello?
Yeah, they're dead now, so we should be good.
There we go. So, very quickly, I'm going to get the... we'll go by running order. There we go. So, we are here at Jessica Pina. So, we've done these 5 songs. Quick overview. Any thoughts you have on those songs? You don't have to talk about all of them, just if there's anything that sticks out. I talked about the public versus jury thing, and how getting 12 from the public but 0 from the jury clearly shows that something is wrong with the jury. I was wondering what your thoughts are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I out of these 5, Henko was my clear favorite. I'm just very glad that the public gave love to her. Incredible artist, incredible song. It was up my alley, so I'm very glad that it got love. The jury giving the 0 is absolutely baffling to me. I don't know what went wrong with the FDC juries this year. Clearly something is not all right. So they should fix that. But yeah.
Made no sense to me too. Now, next song we have A Minha Casa by Marco Rodriguez. Let's have a listen. So, I think that for me, this is too boring. he's clearly like feeling it. He's clearly feeling it as he sings it. And with this kind of song, at the very least, you need to really be passionate, right? And I can tell he's passionate and I respect that. But I just found the song, for me, was too boring. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say the same, honestly. It didn't stand out too much for me between the lineup. He's passionate about it, but that's about it. Clearly wasn't trying to be competitive.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to skip past this one because it won. We're going to come back to it at the end. And we're going to go on to Adam Astor, who, of course, won one of the wild cards. So the televote only sent him to the final. The juries didn't want him. Let's have a listen. What do you think, Gollum?
I love it. I love it. I really like this one, and I didn't expect it. I didn't expect me to like this, but I really did on the night, and I really like the performance. I think it had that like edge to it, and maybe that's why it won like the wild card. Yeah, I really like this. I think they robbed him. He deserved better. I really like this.
I agree. It was really interesting. This got 2 12s from the jury. But it got so little from all of the rest of the juries that it got 1 point overall, which is insane. Again, what a mess. But there we are. Yeah, I don't know much to add, to be honest. I completely agree with your comments. I think it should have been... Yeah. Explanation: the Portuguese public is tired of Mensagem, the book that Adam Astor comes from. Okay, well, there we go. There's a little bit of context we might have not known. Interesting thought. I feel like the betting odds are skewed more towards jury winners because jury winners have won the past 2 years. I can see it. But let's keep moving on. We've got a lot to get through. It's getting late and we've got to wrap up in like 10, 15 minutes. So we're going to speed through the rest of this. One of the few that the public and the jury agreed on, 8 points each. It wasn't personally one of my favourites, but I think he has an amazing voice. It just not up my street. What do you think, Gotham?
I think it got what it deserved. I see the potential in this. Wasn't too obsessed with this. I still like the way it sounds. I like the performance, but it's not something totally like special. It doesn't have that factor that I look for in Portugal, and to me, it doesn't sound like something Portugal would send to Eurovision. It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have that identity. And the winner does, but
yeah, it does.
We'll come on to that in a minute. Now this, let me tell you, I think this was super, super interesting, right? I don't know whether the execution was right, but like I love seeing stuff like this because when I'm talking about like, oh, we need to see more risks and stuff, and like this is the kind of risk I want to see because a lot of these aren't going to pay off, and this one I think sort of half did. I think it was well done, but it was also a little bit maybe a little rough around the edges, right? But as people are saying in chat, this was really cool. It was really fun, and I really liked it personally. And I love seeing stuff like this, even if it isn't usually what I'd engage with. It's fun to watch, right? It's interesting. So even if you don't like it that much, you can still be engaged by it, right? What do you think?
I really like this. It felt special, and I feel like it did stand out between the other songs. I do think like the execution could have been a little bit better, but I find the song so intriguing that I was just like drawn to it. Wasn't my winner, but I really appreciated this.
Yeah. I found it intriguing too. It's just interesting. Like I'd happily go back and watch it again. Speeding on because I want to make sure we have a good amount of time to talk about this. This was the big shock of the night. This was the fan favorite. I know there's going to be a big reaction in chat when they see this on the screen. Let's play a little clip of Tristeja by Josh. I was stunned watching the jury come in for this. There it is. 5 from the jury, 7 from the public. Didn't just not win. It didn't get close. And I was really shocked because I was certain this was going to win. I really, really thought this was going to win. the odds reflected that. Portugal was in the top 10 in the odds for a good amount of time because of this song, and we've lost it. And I thought it was a great prospect for Eurovision, and I'm sad to lose it. And I think it was really wonderfully done. I'm not sure about the gimmick. I would love to keep the floating thing, but done in a slightly different way because it made it too static, too stationary. But the fact that the jury's put this 7th is totally insane. And someone has talked above about the fact that some of the jurors, so for example, the jury from Madeira blanked Fernando. And it's like, the winner was from Madeira. You have these things where it's like, well, are you deliberately tactically voting for acts from your place? And I didn't like that. Saint Mike in Twitch chat saying exactly that. There we go. Madeira voted for Napa. Alentejo voted... I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry. Alentejo voted for Jessica Pina. Algarve voted for Peculiar. There we go. Like, that's not how it should be working. And like, I love the national jury idea, but if they're going to do that, then you should do international instead. Yeah. But he didn't do well with the public either, and that's more interesting. Got him. Do you think that this was robbed? Do you think it would have done well at Eurovision? What are your thoughts?
I think this was the best bet of Portugal for Eurovision. To me, it felt like magic. I really, really like the song. I really, really like the performance. I really like him as an artist because I said this in my Serbia video about Tam. I love when artists don't have overinflated ego and they actually listen to people that give them constructive criticism, because he changed that outfit. People were complaining about that he blended in with the black staging behind him and like the gimmick wasn't like that visible. He changed it, and I really appreciate that about him. I would have loved to see this at Eurovision. I think there was a big place for this because we don't have a lot of ballads, and it's just this heartfelt, beautiful ballad with beautiful lyrics. And I'm shocked because, as you said, I really did expect this to win. And watching like the results come in and this not being up there, I was like,
I didn't
I was
understand
thrown
it.
off.
I mean, the thing is, this the
Me
thing
neither.
with this result. There were so many questions. Everyone was looking at this result like, what is going on? This made the least sense. The fact that it wasn't even close. If it had come second or third and got like, say, a pair of 8s or an 8 and a 10, you know, then it's like, okay, right? You know, fair enough.
Yeah.
It did well. It just, you know, people liked something else slightly better. It's the fact this did so badly. It's really surprised. Although it is interesting, Waffle Snacks in chat says, as a Portuguese person, I fell asleep watching him. So clearly it just didn't connect on some level. I think it did need more movement, but you can keep the gimmick as it is and have movement around him. So whether that's through LEDs, it needed to feel, I think, like he was sort of amid a storm or something, right? He's suspended and there's all of this, and then there's stuff going on around him that doesn't distract from him. But I think that would have added to it. It would have made it more intense, right? Yeah. And presenters were shocked as well. There we are. Right, we have 2 more to talk about. We're going to talk about Kotovia, and then we're going to talk about the winner. We have to wrap up in like 5 minutes, so let's do this fast. So, I quite like this. I was surprised how well it did. It's a nice sound, but again, it's indicative of the show and the audience. It felt like this was aimed towards a domestic audience, and it was therefore, as we saw in the results, well, it was very popular with the jury, and it ended up where it ended up. But personally, I couldn't have seen this at Eurovision, and I don't think it would have done very well. What are your thoughts?
I really like this actually. I would have preferred this over the actual winner. I didn't expect this to do so well, just because like I just didn't. But I think there is something special in the song, and there was potential to it. There was just substance to it, and I would have definitely preferred this over the actual winner. I just like this. It has that sound I usually look for in Portuguese entries and love, and yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's very Portuguese, I feel like.
Yeah. I think you get it more than I do. I appreciate it, but it's not for me. Because we need to rush along, let's talk about the winner of this show, which was Napa with Deslocado. Before I start talking about this, I should say this was the only song that was doing well commercially before the show in Portugal. It didn't win the televote, but it was always going to do well. So when it got a decent jury score, it did make it, seem like the most likely. Let's.
Diferente, monte de botão não me provoca nada, não me
So I'm going to change that freeze frame because that's a little unflattering. Okay. Did it deserve to win?
No.
I'm conflicted, right?
I don't think so.
I'm conflicted. Because on one hand, and I understand why you'd say that, Colin, I think it's not a good fit for Eurovision at all. And I think most Portuguese thing ever, 3 of the 5 band members have the name João. Well, there we go. I don't think this is a good choice for Eurovision. Is it one of the highest quality pieces of music in the show? Yes. But I don't see it for Eurovision, and that's a shame. I think it's going to really struggle at the contest. I don't think it's going to qualify. And that's unfortunate.
No.
I will say that some of the response on social media has been insane. And I don't mean that in a good way. We really need, when a fan favorite loses, we really need to stop all losing our minds in the nasty way that a lot of people do. You know, it's one thing being like, oh my God, like this result is bad or whatever. But like, you know, people saying nasty things, like crossing the line. It does happen. And it did happen with this song. And that was unfortunate. People are saying, you know, it doesn't need to be for Eurovision. And that's fair enough. But at the same time, it is going to Eurovision. So, and this is a Eurovision channel. So we're going to look at it in the frame of Eurovision. I've been deliberately talking about this show, as you will have noticed, in a way that actually is not really Eurovision centered, because I want to really emphasize the fact that, yes, it's produced for a domestic audience and it's designed to further Portuguese music. It does that well. It's high quality in that sense. But when it comes to the winner, we do have to think about it in terms of Eurovision. And for me, I think they're going to struggle with this. Now, we've been in this position before where Portugal has seemed to be on a hiding to nothing and then ended up doing much better. And there are clearly people, I can see them in chat, who really, really enjoyed it. But for me at the moment, not seeing
You know
it
what the
going
problem
anywhere.
is?
Go ahead, Colin.
If this didn't have any, like, I can see the comparison between this and the Black Mamba, like in 2021. But the thing is, back then in 2021, the Black Mamba was the only song, not the only song, but like Portugal was the only country that had such an entry. So it stood out, and that's why it made it. And also we had juries back then. Now we have in the semi-final one, we have Ukraine, and that with Ukraine in there, this is just not going to stand out that much because Ukraine is the stronger entry between those two. They don't sound alike, but they do have like that throwback kind of feel. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
And Ukraine is done better. The staging is better. There is more potential. It has that a little bit of a kick. This doesn't have that kick. And although I personally love, not love is a strong word, but I can see why this won. And I like the way it sounds because I do tend to like Portugal's entries, and I do think the reason why they won is because of the message. Like, it's about immigration, I think, and people living in Portugal and wanting to go back home, and that nostalgia. I understand why it won. I don't feel like it's competitive.
Yeah.
With Ukraine being there, I think this is dead on arrival.
Yeah.
Because there are no juries to appreciate
Yeah.
the quality of it.
I think you're right. And I think overall, while I like the selection as a whole, and I appreciate it every year for having a really nice standard and offering me a lot of interesting things, it hasn't quite... The last few years, it's been really good at doing that and producing something that really works at Eurovision. That has not quite happened this year. Obviously, everyone has years where things don't quite go to plan. And like I said, they might still prove me wrong. They are a really resourceful delegation. Like, in terms of delegations who often outperform their resources, I think Portugal and the Czechs are among the best at that. With that, it is 10:33 here in the UK, 11:33 over in the Netherlands, where Mr. Gotham is sat at this moment in time. And even later for some of you, I know there's some of you over in the time zone, which is now 2 hours ahead. Thank you all so much for coming again this evening. But I want to first remind you all to subscribe to ESC Gotham. And Gotham, why don't you quickly... You have 20 seconds to sell yourself and say goodbye. Go.
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Gabe, for having me. I have always wanted to do a live stream, and I'm delighted to have shared the past 2.5 hours with you. If you want to subscribe to me, I'm Gotham at the ESC Gotham. You can find me on here. I do analysis of lyrics all the time. I talk about controversies. I'm controversial myself. I drag a lot of people. I try to do it in a funny way. My editing is all over the place. I'm a mess. And if you want to be part of the Gotham Mental Asylum, you can join me. We have a lot of fun. And yeah, that's about it.
With that, make sure you guys go and do that. And since it's the end of the stream, now's the perfect time to firstly go and catch up on the survey video from last week and to go and have a look at some of Gotham's videos. I really like his Finland one, unsurprisingly. Right, from us, we're going to say once again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of your support over the last few weeks. I will say, watch out because over the next few weeks, the dates of the streams, you will get the same number of streams, but it's going to adjust, especially in April. There's going to be a few weeks in a row where we're doing Wednesdays instead of Sundays. We will also be doing an extra stream this Wednesday with Vibe from Iceland. Make sure to be there for that. So, for now, thank you all so much. It has been an absolute pleasure.